Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to EuMB TV's Eyes Up Mother Brown. We are back for another live West Ham United fixture. This time, it's West Ham versus Wolverhampton Wanderers at Molineux. We'll be back with you in just a second. See you in a few moments. So we're underway at Molineux, and West Ham up against it a bit today. Yeah, you might think pretty tough fixture. Yet another away game for West Ham. 5 in 6, I think David Moyes said this month, which is pretty unusual. But there we go. We've got some video. Good to see you. Hello, everyone. And of course, we've done all right in the last two away games. A draw at Leeds in the last league outing, 2-2. And then the 1-0 win at Brentford last week in the FA Cup. Positive steps, maybe. Positive steps. It was looking pretty poor before then, of course. But, yeah, hopefully West Ham on the up. We'll find out today, I guess. You can see the team behind me. There it is up there. Fabianski, Soufal, Aguerd, Bonner, Cresswell, Rice, Souček, and Paqueta with Bowen, Fornals, and Antonio in the team. I shall get my good friend Rio on in just a moment to have a look at that, and also the Wolves team. I think we're also going to be joined by Gnome as well at some point today, but we'll find out in just a minute. West Ham on the attack as we speak. Have you got a stream today? If you have got a stream, let us know. If you haven't, let us know in the live comments. I'll be running through some of your predictions as well in just a moment. And there we are. Rio is live and direct. Good to see you, buddy. How are you?
Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you.
You're good?
By our lineup, but there you go.
Yeah, what do you make of that? You a little bit surprised by Moyes' choice there?
I'm very surprised, given the form of particularly Mikel Antonio.
Yeah.
Scamacca's great finish the other day. Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised, but, you know, Dave has got a lot of experience at managerial level. He obviously thinks this is the right team for this game. Mikel probably got something to prove. So let's have it. Come on.
Well, we nearly did just get it there because Kuna, the debutant, has had the first chance of the game. West Ham, bit of a mix-up at the back there between Ogbonna and who's that coming over? And Soufal, kind of getting in each other's way a bit. And Kuna managing to get him behind, have a shot. But to be fair, I think it was Aguerd who got back and managed to get the block in before the ball reached Fabianski, put it out of a corner. So we'll just go through this corner quickly before we delve into the teams, etc., and look at some of your score predictions. Good afternoon to everyone joining us on the live stream. We'll come to you in just a moment. Corner comes in from West Ham's right-hand side, headed straight out by Lucas Paqueta. And Wolves have possession still. We're being joined by member number 3 of the team, who is known today as Lucas Fabianski comes and grabs the ball out of the air. Rio, take us through the West Ham's team and what you think's happening there today, buddy.
Okay, so we line up as follows. In goal, Lucas Fabianski. Alleged back 4 of Vladimir Soufal, Aaron Cresswell, Angelo Ogbonna, and Naif Aguerd. In midfield, we have Lucas Paqueta, birthday boy Declan Rice, and Thomas Souček. With an alleged front trio of Jarrod Bowen, Pablo Fornals, and Mikel Antonio. On the bench for us, we have Ben Johnson, the returning Kurt Zouma, Gianluca Scamacca, Manuel Lanzini, Flynn Downs, Said Benrahma, Tio Kehrer, Emerson and Darren Randolph.
There it is. West Ham's 18-man squad for the game. West Ham just looking to attack here on the left-hand side. And indeed, we're away. Fornals is on the left-hand side. Now it's breaking down, bearing down onto the box, cuts inside. Can he find a West Ham player? Plays a little reverse ball to Cresswell. Cresswell's cross is blocked, and it's a West Ham throw. Rio, there was some question over whether Fornals would be playing sort of in a advanced role today or sort of a left wing back. But I think we've just seen from that one particular attack that it is the advanced role rather than, as was suggested, the potential 5-man defence.
Sadly, I've got a fantastic stream today, but it seems to be a little bit behind yours. So, unfortunately, you'll be the lead role today. You're going to lone furrow up front.
I'm on 5 minutes 12:13 at the moment.
Oh, I'm 3 minutes behind.
Okay, well, hopefully we can get you to catch up in due course. But anyway, we are joined by member number 3 of the team, and it's Noam in Glorious Technicolor. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Bring you up.
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I've got a stream that works for the time being, but I'm about a minute behind you, Gray. So,
all right.
Graham, so Rio, evening, mate. Has done the team, so that's half my job done anyway.
Well, we've done the home team. We haven't done the away team. So I don't know if you want to run through that, buddy.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. When goal, it's Fabianski. Then across the back we have Soufal, Ogbonna, Ogea, and Cresswell. Then Paqueta, Rice, Souček, Bowen, Antonio, and Fornals. The BBC, I just caught the end of your conversation there about Fornals, and BBC certainly have him listed as on the left side as an attacking force rather than more of a defensive force. So,
just seen West Ham break on the right hand side there. Noam, cross coming from Soufal to Bowen, who's perched on the edge of the box and managed to get a shot on target. It was incredibly early for us. 6 minutes, good lord. Easy one for Sarr to save though, but reasonably.
I'm just watching Wolves head wide.
Oh, okay, yeah, you are a few seconds. This is most unusual
from last season.
Yeah, to be in front. It's usually the other way around, but anyway, we'll go with it. Bear with us. As it appears we're all running at different times on the stream.
I'm a bit loath to actually try anything else on here because my track record in keeping streams going is very poor. Okay. So I did have one earlier on a few minutes before I came on that seemed to be looking good, and then I was interrupted by a woman called Anna who wanted to send me 7 photographs.
Nice.
And I thought, well, not now, love. I'm watching football, but
well, we've just seen Michael Antonio break on the left-hand side, get a crossover to no one, and now João Moutinho is down and clutching back his head. Not quite sure what happened there. Didn't see that, but Rio, reasonably decent opening from West Ham so far. I know you're a couple of minutes behind, but looking reasonably bright.
Yeah, it's actually looked. It's a bit of a surprise, isn't it? I thought it'd be a bit of a stodgy, turgid opening period here, but we started on the front foot. Jared Bowen mentioned in the week, didn't he, that we have to show Wolves a little bit of respect, but take the game to them and get them in their faces from the very off. And that looks exactly what we've done.
Indeed, it is. Indeed, it is. Now we just had a break in play. Moutinho still down. Looks a little groggy. To be fair, I didn't see what the collision was. Perhaps you chaps can point it out when you see what actually happened there.
I've just seen, just saw the cross go across, but like everyone else, I guess I was following the ball, and let's have a look at it now.
I don't know if there's some off the ball contact with the Gerd, possibly.
No, it's actually Declan Rice, perfectly valid header. And I think he might have caught him in the back of the head. It's head up, nothing. I think he stayed down because having gone down, he dared get up that quickly. But no, Declan Rice has won a header against him, and I mean, I don't. If he's still down on your feed, Graham, then he's down a ridiculous amount of time.
Well, again, I can say, I can tell you that he's up and running again, and Wolves are breaking on the right-hand side,
all right,
looking to get into the box here. Good block from Aaron Cresswell. Wolves have possession again. Nothing really happening at the moment. But yeah, it's Rio definitely been a lively opening. So far, I mean, the gathered intelligence on the KUMB forum was perhaps that we were going to match Wolves 4-3-3 formation today, Rio, and that certainly seems to have been the case from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, and it's something that we've seen David Moyes employ quite a lot, really. Instead of going to our own strengths and playing the game that we want to play, we have been matching up. We did it against Brentford the other week as well. But whatever works today, because two sides in desperate need of a win, and this could be a real defining game for the pair of them.
Yeah, very much so, very much so. Wolves still applying the pressure. 10 minutes in, Wolves nil, West Ham United nil at Molineux. Massive game. I mean, we seem to ask this every week, gents, but you know, if West Ham were to lose today, do you think that would affect the decision in the boardroom with regards to David Moyes' current position? We have to.
10 minutes in. 10 minutes in.
Yeah, I know.
I get the impression that I don't know, rightly or wrongly, I get the impression that that the powers, or effectively the power that be now, has kind of made up his mind already, and he's just waiting for an excuse. So yes, I do think a defeat today will have some sort of effect. Whether that's right or wrong, I mean, you know, that debate will go on. But we're all aware of various sources that. Sorry, mate.
Sorry, I was just going to say it's interesting that you say that with regards to Sullivan. Is that from any kind of insider knowledge? Have we had a tip, maybe, or is that just your general view?
Just kind of spots of deja vu. Yeah, we're all aware. I was about to say we're all aware of. Sorry, I'm just watching Wolves. Nice dummy, left it for a West Ham player, but they're still on the attack. We're a little bit on the back foot here. But yeah, we're all aware of various sort of sources in social media that how to put this diplomatically, it's not unusual for them to have been disseminating information in the interests of the board, shall we say? Let's put it that way. You know, we're getting little sort of rumblings from there and thereabouts about. Sorry, I say you're ahead of me, so nothing's happened from us. You get little sort of signals and little signs. I was talking to somebody recently. Now I can't remember how recent this actually was, but the story came up again about the board promising David Moyes some money to buy a striker a while back. Yeah, and you know, in turning it down, presumably because the striker, if named, wasn't within his plans. Right. Now, that's. I was speaking to somebody, and I don't know if that. I mean, that's happened before, but I don't know if it was the old time that happened or more recent time. But certainly, it was somebody sort of said, "Oh, you know, he was offered money." I think, well, that story seems to be surfacing again. Right. And you get the impression that he's being briefed against from inside. Interesting. And if that's the case, then yeah, I think that it's going to happen. You know, it's just a matter of when rather than if. Okay, good stuff. I should just point out we've had a little tactical change of our own. I've moved. I've had to move Gnome to the right-hand side of the screen because we had half of your sofa in shot. The vagaries of your camera picking up some of the background, so now that's kind of out of shot that way. So there's no desire to take centre stage. I should point that out. But that's all right. We've moved Gnome's sofa. I've just got rid of the Toblerone. I thought I'd blur my background this week, see if it stopped the Toblerone thing going through my head. Yes, the baguette. Chaps, Rob Young asked, was the Wolves' victory our last win at home? It wasn't, Rob. It wasn't far off. The last one was against Bournemouth on the 24th of October. We beat Wolves 2-0 on the 1st of October. After that, we also beat Fulham. But yeah, you're not far off. We had 3 home wins in October, and it was certainly the first of those. The 14 minutes gone anyway in the game. Wolves still in possession. We're not commenting on it much because there isn't really any goal mouth
incidents of note to talk about. Wolves 69% possession so far. It's just flashed up on my screen. West Ham 31, and Wolves beginning to just get a bit of a, not a stranglehold, I'd say, but maybe a gentle clench of the throat, at least as we approach the quarter hour mark. Rio, what are you noticing so far? Anything that sort of stands out for you in terms of the way the game's going? Anything we need to sort of pick up on right now?
It's just the last couple of minutes. Wolves have had a lot of possession. They're passing the ball around very nicely and very comfortably.
Yeah,
we're defending 2 banks of kind of 4. But the times we have had the ball in our possession when Wolves are trying to hit them on the counter or try and clear our area, Antonio's been incredibly isolated, so the ball's just coming straight back again. So defensive diligence is all well and good, but you don't want to keep inviting the pressure on. So we need to kind of break this routine, this pattern.
Just to illustrate that point, actually, I've just seen Wolves a sustained spell of pressure. West Ham managed to clear the ball only as far as Antonio, who's immediately pounced upon and concedes possession again. So you're absolutely right. This kind of spells disaster, and I'm getting shades of the Leeds game going behind after 15-20 again with that pressure being exerted. But we'll see. Anyway, we'll see. Let's hope things change. 2 West Ham shirts on the stream today. Gnome, bucking the trend. I thought it was a Beatles t-shirt at first. Of course,
Russell's.
Yeah.
Cheese and onion. If you know, you know.
I don't. You'll have to explain that one. Is it worth explaining? Is it a good story?
Well, it's just the late Neil Innes, bless him,
Yes.
was, and the Ruttles were his sort of spoof parody of the Beatles, which he put together with Eric Idle and various others many years ago. And they actually started playing gigs not that long ago. Sadly, obviously, Neil Innes passed away a year or 2 ago now, which was a major loss to the world of music. But the music's fantastic. It really is. And it's humorous and it's funny. Go and check out Cheese and Onion by the Ruttles, which is, there you go, a sort of parody of a day in the life. And apart from the fact the music's brilliant, it's a very good punchline to it.
There you go. Go out and check out the Ruttles if you haven't already. Rio, are you a fan? Are you aware of Neil Innes and his broad church of work?
I'm very aware of Neil Innes because obviously the comedy element. I've never actually checked out the Ruttles, so I have.
Oh man, you
come
don't
across
know
them.
I mean, what it started off. You may remember Eric Idle zillions of years ago, after sort of Python stopped, had a spoof TV series called Rutland Weekend Television.
Yeah,
which was supposed to be, and the Ruttles came as a little bit out of a little sketch in that, and then they had they actually expanded it. They got a bit of American backing into a full-length movie, which featured, as they called them, the Prefab Four. And Eric Idle didn't actually sort of provide any of the music for it. He sort of just there. But the movie, the Ruttles, All You Need Is Cash, is just a masterpiece. It's one of the funniest programs you'll ever see. George Harrison.
Is that the same organisation that put out all those spoof public information broadcast thingies? The Rutland Information Council, or whatever it was, something like that. Was that related?
They may have done at the time. Yeah, Rutland Weekend Television was very funny, and you don't see it repeated anywhere, or very rare. I think you probably find it on YouTube. But as I say, the Ruttles followed this sort of very obviously, the parodic Beatles stuff, and they put out a couple of albums. The first album, scandalously, the record company got a little bit scared of how clever the musical parodies were, and for old Innes, as a result, didn't earn a penny out of it. They put out another couple of albums. There's when the Beatles brought out the anthology series, the Ruttles brought out Archaeology, and then there was the Wheat album, and very good live album as well. They were terrific live as well. I mean, Yeah, right down to having a drummer that sung a little bit out of key from time to time. So, Graham, I've just seen somebody go down in the box, and I'm presuming it's not a penalty because you haven't jumped up and said penalty.
No,
like?
we've in our box or theirs. I mean, say where we are now live. West Ham just beginning to get back in. Mickey Antonio. Well, hang on, because Wolves are breaking on the right. It's a dangerous ball played across the box. Soufal gets in and gets the clearance from under the crossbar. Podence was poised to finish at the far post if he hadn't got there. It's out for a corner to Wolves. Mikel Antonio just had a couple of decent moments, got into the box, tried to wriggle into a shooting position, couldn't quite get in, but it looked as if West Ham were just beginning to get back into it. And then Wolves have had this attack. The corner's been played short anyway. Just see what happens. It's a deep cross coming in. Soufal's underneath it with Podence. Podence wins it. Fabianski pulls it out the air. No, still not really a lot happening at the moment. Soufal's gone down clutching his right ear following that challenge by Podence. But no, nothing really happening at the moment. It's been Wolves pretty much controlling the game, I think. But yeah, still 0-0. That's the most important thing. Also, I noticed Craven there. Hi to Andy, who's just joined us. Craven mentioning the Manchester derby. I don't know if either of you chaps managed to see that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Watching some paint dry.
Well, it's a bit like that until the 80th minute, wasn't it? No.
Funnily enough, my brother's actually up there, and he sent me a message earlier on that he'd just been speaking with Stuart Pearson of all people.
Oh, really?
So I told him to shake his hand. My stream's died.
Okay.
So bear with me. I talk most yourselves. I'll try and get another one.
That was Pearson Rio, wasn't it? That celebration, just the clenched fist, was it something like that?
Oh yeah. Proper
Great
celebrations in the
from the
70s
days
and
of
80s.
proper goal celebrations.
Yeah. We had Stuart Pearson, Mick Shannon at the Southampton doing the old wheelie arm. Now you can't beat things like that.
Alan Shearer used to do that a bit, didn't he, as well? But he used to run around with it raised.
Yeah, just arm up in the air.
Oh, of course, yeah. It was more like that, wasn't it? Really, yeah. Yeah. None of these strange little dances that they do these days. We've just seen Thomas Souček receiving instructions from David Moyes on the sidelines, and obviously I can't tell you what he was saying, but obviously concerned by something. Podence is now speaking to his new manager, who's giving him instructions. Yeah, of course, for those of you that didn't see the game, Man City, who was it? Grealish scored with a header, of all things. I think it was his second or third goal for Man City this season. To put the visitors one up. And then Man United scored 2 in a minute. A slightly controversial equaliser. One of those that, under the old rules would have been given immediately for offside, but correctly, I think, given in the end under the new rules. But it's just very confusing if you're a defender, I think. The game has been stopped. There's an injury. We've got an injury to a Wolves player. David Moyes chatting with his two centre-halves, Ogbonna and Agerd. Agerd looks completely perplexed. I'm not sure he can understand those gentle Glaswegian tones that be directed in his North African right ear. Now it's Cunha. What do we know about Wolves' new player, Rio? Obviously, he's actually 7 or 8 caps for Brazil. Atletico Mineiro, I think he came from. He's on loan for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I know an absolute great deal about him, but obviously, if you play for Brazil, you can't be an awful player.
Yeah.
So, it's one to look out for. And Wolves have been, I know they've been struggling this season, but their recruitment's been quite diligent, and they're picking up players who very much go under the radar and make them better players. So, he is one to watch out for.
Okay, good stuff. Should we go for just have a quick look at your predictions, guys? Thank you to everyone who put one in earlier. What have we got? Craven went for a 3-0 defeat. Hopefully not. David O'Rourke 3-1 to West Ham. There you go. That's more like it. I think that's it in terms of the predictions. If you haven't got one in already, you can still chuck one in. It's 0-0. We'll allow that for a little while longer. Wolves on the attack now. Anyway, we're just past the midway point in the first half. Coming up to 24 minutes gone. Wolves nil, West Ham United nil. Wolves on top pretty much so far. But I think we're about even in terms of shots on target. 2-1 to Wolves, maybe. I haven't got the BBC stats up in front of me. Noam, how you doing with that stream, buddy?
I've got one back. I'm probably about around 30 seconds, maybe a bit more. I'm on 23.35 now. So
okay, that's good. Getting closer. Tommy Souček's just done really well to win the ball back for West Ham, and we're looking to counter. Now, here's that example, playing the ball up to Mickey Antonio. Two defenders on him immediately, but on this occasion, he manages to hold it and play it back to Souček, but it's out for a frame. But, you know, I mean, this is a problem, isn't it? You know, as you said, he's so isolated up there, and it's so easy to defend against.
Yeah. The problem with Antonio is that he doesn't, to me, he doesn't hold the ball up well. Yeah, sometimes he does it, but there's a lot of it sort of coming back further than whence it came. You know, sometimes. Yeah. And if you're going to play with him like that, you do need someone a lot closer to him.
Yeah.
Than we seem to play with. So you know, it's yeah, Scamacca can hold it up a bit better, but again, we don't see it play with anybody close enough to him.
I can tell you those stats now, gentlemen. Wolves 68% possession to West Ham, 32 at the moment. 6 shots from Wolves so far, 1 on target, 3 from West Ham, 1 on target. So not a lot in it in terms of testing the goalkeepers, but Wolves obviously 2/3 of the possession so far. 25, 20, just coming to 26 minutes gone again. It's Wolves in possession. Yeah, it's one of those. I mean, what do we make of Scamacca? I mean, I guess the assumption must be because he's just returning from injury, that's why he's on the bench rather than Antonio today.
You would have thought so. I know Dave's been trying to kind of rotate them a little bit because they've both obviously got injury issues at the moment.
Yeah.
I just think he'll be very disappointed. As soon as he gets a run going, I know it's only one game this time, but he normally gets a run going, then he finds himself out the side, which is a little bit frustrating. And trying to integrate someone of that calibre into the squad and get him in a consistent basis in tune with the midfielders providing all the ammunition. Yeah. To be done the next game's got to be a bit frustrating for him.
Yeah, very much so. On the other hand, G, good to see Big Kurt Zuma back in the squad today. I think. No?
Yeah, sorry, I was there. Sorry.
I thought you was asleep there. I thought we'd lost you for a second. I thought you dozed off. It's that dull so far.
I am incredibly exhausted. I've driven pretty much 600 miles in the last 2 days, so I'm a little bit knackered. But no, what was the question again? I was over.
Zuma back in the squad.
Yeah, good to see him back again. I'm possibly glad he's on the bench rather than on the pitch straight away. From Moyes' press conference, he was debating whether or not he was sort of fit enough to start, and said, you know, well, we'll see, sort of thing. But we do have that habit of bringing players back too soon and then not seeing him for another 6 months.
Indeed.
So I'm just watching Wolves on the attack, but that's ended up with Fabianski. I'm sure Graham would have told us if something had happened there. But yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's good to see him back and in contention, particularly as now seems quite likely if Craig Dawson is going to be on his way, possibly to today's opponents.
Do you know, I'm glad you raised that because I'd forgotten to mention it at the start of the show. But what do you make of that decision, Rio? I mean, we're assuming Dawson's been left out because this move is, you know, inevitable, it seems.
Yeah, there's been talk about him and Mikel Antonio both joining Wolves this week, hasn't there?
Yeah.
With Craig Dawson, it's been known for a while now that he wants to kind of move back up north. For the money we pay for him and for the job we expect him to do when he initially signed for us, you can't fault anything about Craig Dawson. And if he wants to move back up north to be near his family, all well and good. He's been a great servant to us for but given the whole situation, so I'm not going to begrudge him anything whatsoever. It's just a shame that we're going to lose kind of a reliable defender to one of our kind of relegation battle candidates.
We've just seen Kuna fire high and wide. He picked the ball up on the edge of the box. Bit of a poor challenge from Lucas Paquette. I seem to pull out of it. guess they were teammates at some point for Brazil, but fortunately the attempt was high and wide. I kind of remember actually talking about that, Rio. I mean, there was your namesake, in fact, whenever that was. What that would have been 22 years ago, I guess now. I don't know if you recall, but before we played Leeds, before he went to Leeds, we played them, didn't we? And I'm sure it was the weekend before, and I think Nigel Winterburn might have scored the only goal of the game. But I just wondered, why do you think that choice was taken to rest or to leave Dawson out? When there is a precedent for playing the player before.
Now, did we have this recently where we were about to buy someone? I think it might have been under Allardyce's reign, where we were about to buy somebody and they didn't play the week before we bought them. Oh, who was it? Rio. Rio, you'll remember this at some stage. But it's the sort of thing that, I mean, the FA actually investigated us, or investigated the deal, and go
on. Oh, sorry, no. I'll come back to that in a minute.
Obviously Wolves are, there's two schools of thought. Wolves are putting a bid, and so I'm just looking at your moment there, but perhaps not. Two schools of thought. One, we've left him out because we've agreed not to play him, and that he'll be on his way anyway.
Yeah.
Secondly, whether he goes or not, there's potential sort of conflict of interest for the player, which I don't really hold with that. I'm sure even if he was going there next week, and you put Dawson out there, he'd give everything for the cause, there's those two schools of thought. What I would say is, he's been a fine player for us, and remember him signing for us and then disappeared for however many months. He didn't get a sniff of playing, and then all of a sudden he turned up, and we were all saying, "Oh, we forgot we had him." And, I think it was a game against Southampton where he instantly endeared himself to us by going to kick a ball that Southampton player foolishly and very belatedly stuck his head in the head and almost removing his head, didn't he? I mean, last week against Brentford, I mean, he played well, don't get me wrong, and all that. But at the end, I don't know, his body language was such that he sort of moped off, if you like, at the end. He gave a big wave because he got a lot of chanting of that rather dirty song about him being awesome, and to the tune of Oasis's "She's Electric." But he kind of looked sort of a little bit morose as he went off. Maybe just my opinion, but his shoulders were sort of down, and he did turn around and wave and give us a clap, and then sort of sauntered off slowly. So, but yeah, I mean, if he goes, well, all the best to him, because I don't think he'd ever say he'd let us down at any stage. And
sure.
There are these family reasons that are being touted around as reason for going, and you can't really argue with those. I mean, you got to put your family first.
Exactly.
Kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you there. Actually, with that sentiment, kind of reminiscent in a way of Rhino back in the day. Was it Villa he went to initially before, and he didn't play a game? David Unsworth.
David Unsworth,
left because he was homesick. Went to Villa, I think, and didn't play a single game for them, did he? I think he went back to Everton, didn't he? After that, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, did
yeah.
Not the worst of the case of homesickness we've seen though.
Mike Marsh.
Yeah, who was so homesick for Liverpool, ended up in Turkey.
Yeah, he went to Coventry, then to Turkey, because he was homesick for Liverpool.
I should just go back to the game. Both Mike and Noam's brief moment of excitement was due to an effort by Vladimir Soufal. Cross came in from the left-hand side, rather hopeful little lob into the box from Lucas Paqueta, which was nodded on by Thomas Souček to his compatriot at the back post. For a moment, it looked like he was in, but unfortunately, the shot was blocked. I mean, he kind of beat the keeper, but there was 2 or 3 Wolves players. But just seen Bowen gets the ball and pulls the ball, little chip back, but Sarr plucks the ball out the air. Could have been 2 goals in 2 games for Soufal Rio. I mean, I still can't quite get over that 50-yard lob he tried last week. That was about 3 feet over the bar. That would have been something, wouldn't it?
That would have been one of the highlights of the season, had that guy in. And particularly for the stick that he's been under. I know he's not had the greatest of seasons, Vladimir, but you can never fault his commitment and his heart and his work rate. So, it's one of these players I love to see get off on the score sheet. And I'd like to see it at home so he goes absolute ballistic. So I think he would. I think he'd be actually in the stands with Rivron.
Yeah, it might be a bit like that. Was it Roger Johnson in the 1978 FA Cup final, Ipswich? Scored the winner and had to be
Roger
replaced.
Osborne
had to be replaced shortly afterwards.
Because, he got overcome with all the heat and had the attack of the vapours and fainted, I believe.
Talking about things you love to see, I've just spotted in the far corner a tiny little mound of grass. And those of you of a certain vintage who will like me recall back in the day when the likes of Andy Gray were plying their trade for Wolves at Molineux. They used to have that big open bank of grass, didn't they, behind the goal, which always used to feature a match. It's still there, but it's only a tiny little section now. Remember that, guys? Remember that one?
There was the old Surf Bank at Wolves, wasn't it?
It was that.
It was a concrete monstrosity. It was huge.
I mean, it's been totally redeveloped, hasn't it? The Molineux.
Yeah.
But, just while we're on, I've got the chat thing open here, and I think it's Hobo somewhere posited the transfer that I was thinking of might have been Robert Snodgrass to West Brom.
Okay.
I had a funny feeling, though. I mean, I might be right, but I had a funny feeling it was a player we were about to sign rather than but I may be wrong, but because I thought the issue when it was being looked at was that the team that didn't play would have an issue under the rules, not the one they were playing.
Yeah.
So, but maybe that's what I was thinking of, and I'm just getting old. But yeah.
Well, there you go. If anyone can think of it, do let us know. Wolves have got a corner, by the way. Bit of a hurried clearance from Angelo Ogbon. It's kind of slashed at the cross and it's gone out for a corner. So we'll just stick with this for a moment because there have been very few moments to get excited or concerned about in the game so far. 37 minutes gone now. Still Wolves 0, West Ham United 0. And at the moment, so let's just see what happens here. That's I was going to say it's the away end, but I don't think it is the away end. I think it's the home end they're playing towards now. But anyway, just waiting for the cross to come over. Here it comes from West Ham's left-hand side, delivered deep, and it's met by a volley by Neves on the edge of the box, and he puts it straight over the bar. No trouble for West Ham. Now, I do you remember that story a couple of years ago about? I'm sure it was against Wolves, and one of their supporters, it was a young lady actually, ended up in court for throwing a pie at a West Ham fan, which landed with rather too much accuracy. I'm not imagining that, am I? Anyone?
It does ring a bell. Yeah,
I'm gonna...
thankfully I wasn't there.
It was aggravating because he was a vegan or something.
Yes, it would have been demanding more held in his direct. I'm going to look it up because I'm sure I'll see if I can find that story. Anyway, we'll carry on and we'll come back to that in a minute. But I'm sure it was at Wolves. 38 minutes gone, and still waiting for our first goal. Statistics-wise, it's been pretty much Wolves in control, 65-35 in terms of possession. 8 shots from Wolves, 2 on target, 4 from West Ham, 1 on target so far. Let's see if we can find this story. Anyway, we'll come back to that in a minute. What's that record like, Noam, against Wolves over the years? I don't recall having too many notable successes over them in the years gone by.
Yeah, it's a bit patchy from memory, but as with all these things, let's look it up.
It's improved over recent times, it has to be said.
Yeah.
It was never a happy hunting ground, particularly when I started going away games like in the early 90s. Had some awful games up there. Ones that spring to mind were the ones where one of the Phil Park starts to their games where Steve Ball just running ragged, and I think Man only managed to score once and 1-0 win, but the arthritis really kicked in after about 5 seconds. And
our record overall goes back to 1910, by the way. Bizarrely, just maybe in my living memory this isn't the case, but we've actually won more than we've lost. I'm looking at those very early years. It was about 50 years before we actually lost to them from when we first played them. But a lot more sort of red ink in the later years. But we've won 33, drawn 15, and lost 23. That's a much better record than I thought.
What? Sorry, no. What was that again?
133, drawn 15, lost 23.
Oh, that's not bad at all. Yeah, okay. I was quite wrong then in that case.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the losses have come more recently. Between 2018 to all sorts of pop-ups coming up on here now. But we lost 3 in a row: 2018, 2019. Yeah. September 2018, January 2019, and December 2019, and indeed June 2020. We lost 4 in a row to them. And we lost November 2021, the last defeat. Since then, we played them 3 times, and lost it. And I think we've drawn. Run it again. We played them twice. The third one's the current game, and 1-1 drawn 1. I think. Sorry, lots of pop-ups on that particular site. So.
Well, just seen West Ham break now. Jared Bowen's done really well to win the ball and find Paqueta, who's found Antonio on the left. He's trying. Oh, that's a terrible pass. Mikhail, come on. Oh, he's got an easy pass into the channel for Pablo Fornals, who's making a great run, and he's just completely overhit it. And that is, I think, why people get frustrated with Mikhail Antonio. That lack of, I don't know, just lack of quality, really, for a player. And I wanted to touch on this Antonio because I know he gets a lot of stick, but I've been watching quite closely Rio so far in this game. As I say, he's very barely been involved in the game, 1 or 2 touches, but his work rate is absolutely incredible. Being asked to do that, plough that lone furrow up front, he's absolutely working his socks off. But to what effect? It's just close. Not in any way assisting West Ham's attack. Just trying to, chasing shadows basically.
Yeah, when it comes down to nuts and bolts of what you really need him to do, he's found wanting, and it's crept into his game more and more over the last year or so. And if we had the resources at our disposal to get a replacement in, any kind of money we could get from now at his age, with his fitness record, and he's seriously on the decline, I would consider it. Unfortunately enough, the team is allegedly interested in him. He's producing a bit of a poor show in terms of actual ability at the moment.
Yeah.
So they're going to probably write him off the list. So yeah, we're stuck with him.
News from elsewhere, which is important news, is that Everton have just gone 1-0 up from Onana putting the ball in against Southampton, which has an important goal going in.
Oh.
I think the rest of the Premier League is goalless at the moment, as far as I can find out.
It is. I can just tell you that we nearly had a goal here ourselves. Wolves managed to get into it's the number 12 actually, Kuna, who managed to get inside Soufal and played across in that corridor of uncertainty across the 6-yard box, but it's just a little bit too strong. Fortunately, I think for West Ham, he's not quite on the same wavelength as his new teammates yet, and West Ham probably a little bit fortuitous to remain on level terms. There's another shot coming in now, again from Kuna, again, who's been involved, been at the heart of everything Wolves have done so far today. And again, manages to get one of those blocks in that he seems so adept at doing, throwing himself in at the last moment. And it's another Wolves corner, but you kind of sense there might be a goal coming soon. Hopefully not, because we're only just a minute or so away from end of regulation time at the end of the first half. Just stick with it because Wolves got this corner on West Ham's right. It's played short, played back to the corner taker, clipped to the far post, nodded out, but only as far as the edge of the box. And Wolves still got the ball. Shot comes in, it cannons off Bowen, and they've still got possession. But I think West Ham are going to manage to get it away here.
It did stem again from Antonio losing the ball in the middle of the park.
Yeah.
Seemed very slack in his awareness and his anticipation. And it is a cheap one to lose, and Wolves broke away. So yeah, I hate to beat someone when he's down, but it's not looking good for Mick at the minute. Like, obviously, a lot of huff and puff, a lot of effort, but to very, very little effect.
He's absolutely knackered, Rio. I think you can see it.
Yeah.
He looks shattered. Ball coming in from Paqueta, looking for Antonio. It's nodded clear, but Wolves been given a free kick. Late challenge by Soufal West Ham. We're looking moderately dangerous for a moment there, but Soufal put Chan on the deck. No yellow card, still no bookings or anything in the first half, and it's still 0-0. We're into added on time at the end of the first half. Summary time, gentlemen. I didn't quite say how many holding up there. Fourth official, only two. No summary of what you've seen so far. Not really been a lot to talk about.
It's been a bit difficult to follow because I've had sort of streams been a bit in and out. I've just seen the two go up, so that's how far I am behind. Wolves probably look the more dangerous of the two teams at the moment. We seem to get so far, and there's that lack of quality in the final third, to quote and oft repeat a cliche. But we've kind of been saying that all season, really, haven't we?
Also a lack of bodies in the final third. I think it's
True, yeah.
It's just coming back all the time, as Rio rightly pointed out. Every time the ball's played out, it's just cannoning back off of Antonio. And anyway, West Ham looking to build now. This probably be the last chance of the first half. We've got a throw in just to the left of Wolves' penalty box, about 10 yards or so from the byline. So let's just stick with this for a moment and see if West Ham can do anything here. Aaron Cresser with a throw in. Finds Antonio inside the box. Antonio dispossessed, and Wolves only get it out as far as Paqueta, who's giving it to Soufal. Soufal playing head tennis at the moment with his Brazilian teammate, but it comes to nothing, and Wolves are now going to look to break. Rio, what do you make of what you've seen so far? Pretty dull and interesting stuff, really, on the whole.
It's completely uninspiring from us, particularly.
Yeah.
Wolves have had majority possession. Created better chances. As I said, we kept two banks of four really diligently, but we're just doing nothing with it. We're not getting anyone up in support when the ball does go forward to help Antonio out. And he's having one of his days where nothing sticks, and he's just coming back and back and back. And we're bringing on the pressure on ourselves. And you hope it's going to be one of those situations like we've seen when we've been to Old Trafford and Anfield in recent years, where we've been under the cosh in the first half, but kind of exerted a little bit of pressure, played a little bit more freedom in the second. But this is Wolves. We shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be showing them as much respect as we have done. And we shouldn't be standing off, and we should be more of an attacking threat. And we're not producing anything at all here.
0-0, half time. 46 minutes and 57 seconds. The referee blowing the whistle 3 seconds earlier than indicated. But
just as a bit of public information, the as it stands table has put Everton up to 14th if they get the 3 points there. We're in 17th on 16. Bournemouth play tonight, who are Bournemouth playing? Sorry, I can't remember who they're playing now.
They're at Brentford, 5:30 kickoff today.
Right, okay. So is that down at Bournemouth or is it at Brentford?
At Brentford, no, Brentford are at home today.
Okay. I mean, we at the moment we're level on points. We appear to be level on points with Bournemouth, but we've got a vastly superior goal difference. So,
not good. But long way to go yet.
Let's put it this way. I mean, at this moment, a win would be very, very useful.
Well, actually, I mean, if we were to win it, it would take us up to 14th, wouldn't it? Level on points with Leicester.
would
who are
actually
13th, but with a slightly
13th.
inferior goal difference, less than -5 at the moment.
Oh
West
no,
Ham
yeah,
minus
sorry, yeah,
9.
you're right. Sorry, yeah.
We'd have to score 4 in the second half, Rio, to
Yeah,
go
you're
above
right,
Leicester.
yeah.
I'm fairly certain that's not going to happen anyway. You never know. Never know.
I don't think we're going to score 4 in the next 3 months. My legs look at the moment.
Wasn't it Newcastle? We were 4-0 down at half time to Arsenal a few years ago. Ended up 4-4. It was a strange game. Not quite sure.
Yeah, but that's when they had kind of the weight of Mike Ashley behind them, pushing them forward, encouraging them on, getting a crowd behind everybody, and
that's a lot of weight pushing you forward. To be fair,
exactly.
Anyway, there it is. Let us know what you think of the first half. Robert Young says, got to bring on Benny and Skamaka for Antonio. Certainly. Not sure we can bring on 2 for 1. That'd be a great little tactic if we could do that. Oh, I get what you're saying, Rob. Of course, I understand. But let us know what you thought of the first half team. Were you impressed or thoroughly underwhelmed? Paul Kramer saying that Wolves' centre-backs are bossing Antonio. Absolutely. I think we've been saying that throughout the game. He's just not been involved. A lot of huff and puff from Antonio, but not really getting involved. Anyway, I'm going to take you back a few minutes briefly, gentlemen, as it's half time, to something we were talking about a little earlier. And I found the story in question about said pie chucker. And it's from February 2019. And the story goes thusly. A Wolves supporter was caught on camera throwing a pie at a West Ham fan and has been banned from attending matches for 3 years. 44-year-old Josephine Johnson has been banned from attending all Premier League grounds until 2022. Oh, next month, in fact, after hurling a steaming hot pie at a West Ham supporter in the stand below when the two sides met at Molineux on the 29th of January. Despite having initially claimed it was an accident, whoops, CCTV installed at the ground proved that she had done so maliciously, leading to the ban. An away supporter contacted the steward saying someone had thrown down a pie and it had hit them on the head, said prosecutor Roger Blezard. CCTV was reviewed and identified a female had intentionally dropped the pie. It was dropped from, so not hurled, dropped. It was dropped from a higher vicinity. She'd been a season ticket holder for many years. She had consumed 2 pints of alcohol and something from a hip flask. And mitigating circumstances here, she was in a relationship that had broken down and was going to football as a release. Obviously, like throwing a pie, just made her feel better. She initially said it was an accident, but when shown CCTV, admitted she got excited and carried away. She thought it would be funny to hit a supporter. She was not trying to hurt anyone. And defending Miss Johnson, Mr. Richard Quinn, confirmed she was currently going for a divorce. She did something she would normally not dream of doing. He said she's very, very sorry. West Ham supporter Tooting Rob posted on KUMB following the game, was one of those targeted by Wolves fans in the stands above. They were spitting down on us and throwing pies. He said, the poor bugger next to me was covered. So there you go.
That's when you mentioned of the flavour. That's the only thing I'm really interested in.
No, but I can tell you that 44-year-old Josephine Johnson was fined £300 and ordered to pay costs and a victim surcharge to the unnamed West Ham supporter. Now, I wonder who decides what is suitable recompense for having been hit by a flying pie at a football ground. What do you think? No, how much would you be happy with for being on the wrong end of such a heinous crime?
Depends who made the pie, doesn't it? You can imagine trying to get into the crust of some of those I've had at various grounds over the years. Yeah, it's sort of like one short of throwing a tactical nuclear device, But,
Rio, have you ever been targeted by food or anything like that at a football pitch before?
I've actually I've stood next to somebody, Ellen Road, who got a hot dog square in the face. Luckily, due to my short stature, it must have. I'm not an easy target. Let's put it this way. But there's some bloke next to me got absolute hot dog slam in the face. I'm not saying it's because he's repetitive Jimmy Savile impressions throughout the game, but that might have had something to do with it. Going back to the pie, I'm just thinking,
those impressions were only vocal.
Yeah.
Thankfully. Going back to the pie. I mean, it's Wolves in February. If the pie was actually cooked, bit of heat wouldn't go amiss, would it? No, it's not exactly the warmest culture climate up there.
Fair play, fair play.
But saying that, my experience of football ground pies, which apart from Norwich, I haven't got a great deal of. Temperature's not a great thing for catering facilities in up and down the country, so it could have been stone cold.
Well, they've got two heats, haven't they, pies at football ground? They're either sort of completely cold or they're sort of some sort of thermonuclear heat.
On the pie, it must be a thing about the Midlands, actually, thinking about it, because it's a game I often refer whenever anyone asks you what was the worst game of football you've ever seen, and I always come back to the same thing. It was a game at Coventry around 88, 89, the old Highfield Road Stadium. It was a horrible day. We'd gone up on the football special, which of course anyone who took that mode of transport back in the day would remember was anything but special. And we got to the ground, frog marched from the ground. And of course, back in those days, it was a 25-minute walk from the Coventry station to Highfield Road. And it was a terrible day. It was really foggy, and foggiest I've ever seen actually at a football ground. So much so that when the ball got beyond the halfway line, you couldn't see the game. So you could only tell what's happening by the chants and oohs and ahs from the people at the other end of the ground. These days it would never have gone ahead. It would have been cancelled. Anyway, we were situated in the old in that stadium. You would be sat below or stood below the home supporters. It was one of those where, a bit like Wolves, obviously, in that example. And there was food raining down. It's kind of one of those, I think, Rio, you sort of touched on it there, that when it's someone else, it's kind of funny, but, you can't imagine anything worse than being slapped in the face by pie. And I never forget this guy next to me. A pie came over along with other sorts of liquids and things, which I won't mention, but a pie came over and it was so perfectly launched at him, it hit him on the forehead, and I can almost see it in slow motion opening up and covering his face, this pie. And like I say, when it's someone else, you can't help but sort of chuckle. But there you go. Pie incidents. Have you been covered by a pie or anything else edible at a football ground? Let us know on the live chat. Or have you yourself been responsible for throwing things at a football ground, you dirty, rotten rascals? Let us know. Robert Young says, I was there that day, presumably talking about Coventry. The police were mosh diving. I read that as nosh diving. I'm sure that wasn't happening. The West Ham fan. I do remember there was a rather large incident on the way back to the station in there was kind of a park or something halfway up the hill on the right hand side, if I remember rightly, and there was a big ruckus there on the way back. It's just that sort of day. Well, let's touch on it. Noam, what your worst ever? I think I know what the answer to this one is, because it reminds me that it would be about 20 years ago. But go on, I could be wrong.
There are so many to choose from. What were you thinking?
I'm thinking of Whitley Bay.
Oh,
sorry, was it Whitley?
No, that was a cracking game of football. That was. No, that
but it wasn't the one you were supposed to see. That's the point.
Yeah, the one I was supposed to see, which we didn't get to see. The story behind that was my dear friend and much missed friend, the late, his name David Alistair Craggs, immortalised as Preview Alistair in the match previews. Bless him. He was a good friend for many, many years, and we always made a point of going up to Newcastle. He was from Gosforth and a big Newcastle supporter. He was chairman of the London branch of their supporters club, and we'd always make a weekend of it and have a great time. So it was going to be the first game of the season, and they'd announced all the football games, and then there were rumours starting around that there was going to be an extra one on the Monday night, and it was going to be our game. And I actually got in touch with Sky, and they said, no, we've got no plans to cover that game at all. Okay, great. So Dave and I, Dave's missus had taken the kids away to Greece on holiday. He was supposed to be redecorating the bathroom, and he didn't want to do that. So he said, come on, then we'll go up there. So we flew up there, and we got the flights booked and everything. And then about an hour after we booked the flights, Sky turned around and said, oh, it's going to be the Monday night. Well, I couldn't get extra time off. And, and they said, sod it, let's go up there anyway. So we flew up on the Saturday morning, and we were staying with a mate of ours, Kirk, who run an old-fashioned record shop in Newcastle, and we were staying with him. So we got up there about, by the time we got off the plane, it must have been about 10:30, dumped our bags off at the record shop. And Kirk said, well, what are you going to do? And we picked up a local paper, and we're looking to see what games are on. And it was Whitley Bay versus Billingham Synthonia. So we said, we're going to go and watch that. So Kirk said, right, but don't get drunk, will you? Don't get drunk. No, Kirk, we won't get drunk. Of course we won't get drunk. So, and it was steeringly hot day. So, of course, we went, we were just sort of shoveling beers down like it's like no tomorrow. And we went over there, Whitley Bay versus Billingham Synthonia. One of the funniest games I've ever seen of football. It was in the Northern Premier League. And we got in there, picked up our copy of the programme, which is called Baywatch. And the opening, I've still got it somewhere upstairs. The opening monologue written by their programme editor called himself Doc of the Bay. And it was moaning about how they were the only local team to win a national football trophy for umpteen, however many years it's been since anybody won anything up there, and got next to no coverage in the local press. And so that was all funny. And we saw this game. It was 22 players on the pitch, 21 of whom were of average quality. And the 22nd actually had a bit of skill. We could take the ball on and, he could beat players. And, Whitley Bay's number 10, Lord knows what his name was. But every time he beat 2 or 3 players, Billingham Synthonia defender would come and clatter him to the ground. And it was happening time and time again. And the referee was kind of giving 1 in 3 of these. And the best bit was he went on this amazing dribble where he just, every time he beat someone, somebody sort of had a hack at him, and he was staying on his feet, bless him. And after about the 4th one that really sort of finally clattered into him, he was on the floor and he looked up sort of at the referee and said, away, man, feel free to join in. And I think Whitley Bay won 2-1. It was a fantastic day out, and I started my hangover about 6 o'clock that evening.
Rio, how about yourself? Worst days, away days, I guess. Away days are always the funnier ones, I think, generally.
Worst? God, I've got so many.
Where'd you start?
Far too many for supporting this club. Well, I've always taken positives out of away trips. I mean, most of the time it's spent with friends, it's getting away from the house, it's travelling the next amount of miles, supporting your club. So there's always a positive to it. Although coming back from Old Trafford, we lost 6-0 in the cup, wasn't the nicest experience ever. Yeah, that's probably up there with the worst. Anytime we lose to Tottenham, bad. Various times coming back from Millwall, when it takes longer to get back from Millwall than it does from bloody Coventry or whatever, bad. But losing 6-0 Man United on the coach, full of how can I put it politely? I can't, so we'll skip that.
So you can.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a poor day, that one.
I also recall that day coming home from Man U after getting the Gary Breen day, a team full of Gary Breens. I seem to recall people singing. We got humped 6-0. I drove that day and I got completely lost. How you can get lost coming home from Manchester, I don't know, because it's the most straightforward route. But memory fails me. But there must have been I must have been trying to be clever and taking a back route, and I ended up getting a speeding fine. Somewhere near Derby. quite how I ended up there, I'll never know. But anyway, that just kind of summed up the day. Anyway, game's back on now. We've kicked off the second half. We're a minute into it, and West Ham has stole the ball. Now here's a chance for Souček. Can he get a shot in? It's blocked. Who's he going to fall to? Come on, Declan, win it. Yeah, Declan Rice has got it. Plays in Fornals. Can Fornals get it in? Oh no, he can't. And anyway, it was almost. I can tell you, it was almost a very similar moment to the Leeds second goal. At Ellen Road a week or two back, when we gained possession on the edge of the opposition box and nearly punished them for it. But anyway, it's Wolves attacking now, but it's come to nothing. So quite an exciting start to the second half. We We need a goal. Is one going to be enough here today? No, do you think? Well, hang on. Oh, Antonio's just had a shot as well. It's all happening here. Yeah, is this going to be a 1-0 kind of game? No, you think if anyone's going to win it? We can't hear you. We can't hear you. You're on mute. Have I muted you or have you muted you? I think you must have muted yourself. There you go.
Accidental. Sorry, just in case anybody saw my my picture sort of spin around. I didn't hit another pothole. I just knocked the tripod thing that my phone's being held on. It's an old one, and it's beginning to lose its grip on reality, much like its owner. But yeah. So no, somebody. I can't remember what they said here. Now I've lost it. But yeah, I think 1-0. Yeah, somebody
they've
pointed
scored.
out.
No, I'm sorry. Podence has just scored. Just cutting in there. We're only in the 3rd minute of the second half, and West Ham have fallen behind. I wasn't even looking. I was looking at the door. Someone just knocked on the door. I've just seen the ball go in the back of the net, and it's clearly counted because they're duly celebrating. It's Wolves 1, West Ham United 0. Terrible start to the second half for West Ham. West Ham just had a corner. Now, it actually came from the West Ham corner. It was a Michail Antonio shot that was blocked. Jared Bowen took the resulting corner, which was quickly seized upon by Wolves. They broke down the right-hand side. Let's just have another little look at this. Ball played inside. West Ham scurrying back in numbers. It's Cresswell who makes a bit of an error, and the ball falls to Podence, and he just fires it into the bottom right-hand corner of Fabianski's net. And yet again, West Ham conceding from a set piece. All right, it's not a throw-in. 4 throw-ins in the last couple of games, but Rio, disaster looms.
Absolutely. It's a bit of a fortunate bounce off of Cresswell, but you know, in our situation, we cannot afford any errors, and to lose the ball from our own corner, be on the back foot so quickly. Everyone's all at sea. Everyone's gone forward virtually, apart from 3 or 4 defenders. We managed to get back. Cresswell gets caught out, probably wrong-footed, but it's felt a Podence, and he's made no mistake. Deeply disappointing, deeply worrying. For a team who didn't like scoring in the opening 45 minutes, we've now got to score twice in 40 minutes. And unless we make a couple of changes, I really can't see it, because we offered nothing that first half.
No, not at all. Other news coming in from elsewhere. Southampton have equalised at Everton. But we've just seen Vladimir Soufal go down hacked from behind by Podence. I'm surprised this hasn't been given as a yellow card. But Noam, your thoughts on that goal?
Yeah. How many times have we seen that happen with a corner? You know, corner at one end, suddenly 3 seconds later we're 1-0 down. Well, I was hoping. I was about to say this looks like a 1-goal winner game. I'm completely wrong now. I was about to say that somebody pointed out Wolves have only scored 5 goals in 9 home games. Make that 6 in 10 now, I suppose. But yeah, goals going in all over the place. Southampton equalised at Everton, as you say. Brighton are 1-0 up at home to Liverpool, and just looking at that. No, that's it really. But yeah, so 3 goals in there now.
Brighton. West Ham have got another corner, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Hopefully we won't concede from this one, but Jared Bowen, who just took a little knock, treading a little gingerly, is going to take this one again. It's hopefully this will be a bit better than the last one, but again, it's straight onto a Wolves head and cleared out. Bowen's retrieved the ball. Let's see if he can put it back in. He's hoisted it towards the back post, and it's just a hopeful looking knock into the box, and West Ham have still got possession, but yeah, it's what a desperately disappointing start to the second half. Well, it wasn't actually real, was it? We looked quite bright and just completely fell asleep. What do you put that down to?
Yeah, that first minute we looked absolutely electric. And
I'm trying to find the positives here. It's not easy.
No, it's time for the gallows humour. It's that time of the David Moyes life cycle where the gallows humour comes out.
Yeah.
Because if we lose this, you know, you fear for his future.
Yeah.
I know we're going back down the old debate again, and obviously on the forum this week, it's been a bit tense and heated at times. But
I can't say I've noticed. Is that right?
yeah, watching from afar, lighting some matches and throwing on the petrol. It's been looked a bit iffy from a But yeah, no, you've got to worry for David Moyes' future and also our future as our Premier League status, because it's not looking good. Not looking good at all at the moment.
I'm a bit confused by this Wolves player on the ground at the moment, Graham. It looked like he performed a foul, then went down and is. If that's him, he's up again. But
no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Did we get the foul? Yeah, I think we did.
We did. I think, but
no, it's a drop ball.
Well, we have possession now on my stream, so
yeah. It was we were given a drop ball because we were in possession. So
unbelievable. No, I think you're right. It seemed like an accurate description. Time for changes. Changes on the pitch, maybe changes in the dugout. Who knows? I think, as Rio says, no, it's difficult to see how David Moyes can continue if this one does end up in a defeat. But anyway, there's ifs and buts. There's still another 37 minutes to go, and I suspect that we might see Wolves sit back as much as they possibly can. Now they won't be used to holding many leads, and remains to be seen what's happening. I think one thing for sure, I think we definitely need some kind of change up top. Michail Antonio just not at the races, or not able to be at the races because he's playing alone up there at the moment. Let us know what you think on the live stream. What do you think David Moyes should do in terms of personnel? Well, we know what a lot of you think he should do with regards to the big picture, but let's just stick to the game today now. Do you think he should make changes? If so, who would you like to see brought on? Of course, we have got options on the bench. So is it time to use them? Let's see. West Ham have got a free kick anyway. Inside the Wolves half. Should we stick with this and see what happens? Let's do that. Now.
2 more goals to tell you about going in elsewhere. Middlesbrough 1, Millwall 0. Pause for laughter. And Brighton 2, Liverpool 0. March, I think that might be his second. I think he might have got the first as well. So Brighton also had a penalty turned down due to a marginal offside. I read earlier on half time there. So what a shame. Not.
West Ham have just got into a decent position from that free kick, but Pablo Fornel's down by the byline, looked to cut it across, but yet again it's blocked. Wolves just got so many players in their own box at the moment, defending as they're entitled to. They've got the goal, and it's now up to West Ham to break them down. And anyone who's watched West Ham over the last few weeks or months will know that they haven't had an awful lot of success doing that recently. And we've got another Wolves player rolling around on the deck. It's Podence, I think, this time. I think we might see a little bit more of that, Rio, for the next half hour or so if the score doesn't change.
Absolutely. We're going to see an absolute ton of it now. They're going to kill as much time to play all the gamesmanship in the world, and it's going to frustrate our support. And it's going to be one of them afternoons, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not looking good, is it, so far? But as we say, still quite a bit of time to go. Maybe we're being overly optimistic, but what else can you be at the moment? I mean, there's nothing to cheer about. Let's be honest. Just seeing the goal again. I don't think if any criticism of Fabianski. It kind of came from behind. Defender, I don't think he really saw it, but it was well placed into the corner. Just watching David Moyes' reaction, looks absolutely furious, but as you would expect. Could of course be the goal that cost him his job. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that later. Of course, if anything does happen, we'll be.
Soufal could have closed down a lot more there. He was a good yard or two off, wasn't he?
Yeah, gave him plenty of space, didn't he? Well, we're still the Wolves player's still down. It's been down for
ages, isn't he?
Yeah, well over a minute now. So this could emulate one of those World Cup games the way this is going in terms of added on time at the end. I think we must be up to 3 or 4 at least already. We've only played 11 minutes of this second half. Side Ben Rama's coming on. Oh, he's getting a sniff of. I hope that's smelling salts and not poppers or something like that. But maybe that's what he needs. It might make him run around a little bit quicker. But he's just had a.
Poppers, Graham? Sorry for the uninitiated.
Yes. You're not aware of poppers?
Oh no, I've got.
Don't believe that for a second.
Things you have at Christmas, you go bang, and
That's the one. That's the one. You've just stuck one up his backside to hopefully make him run a bit faster. But yeah, it looks like Saeed Ben Rama's coming on anyway. I don't know if that's going to be for one would assume naturally Rio, perhaps 4 nails, but maybe it's I mean, it's not like we've got 5 at the back we can take off one of those additional defenders. What do you make of that one?
It's going to be 4 nails. You can just set them on off. Padro's not had the greatest game, but name one of our players who has. So the natural is probably the natural kind of wastage. It'll either be him or Souček, and I really can't see him taking Souček off because his aerial ability obviously offers another dimension.
Premier League table as it stands, West Ham down to 19th in the table. There's the good news. Forest have also scored, which is even worse news, I suppose. Forest playing Leicester City, huge Midlands derby there, and Brennan Johnson has scored for the Tricky Trees after 56 minutes. West Ham goal down here against Wolves, 58 minutes gone. The only goal of the game so far coming from Podence, just 3 minutes into the second half. And I think that's bringing you up to date on everything that's happening elsewhere. West Ham on the attack. Pablo Fornals might be his last opportunity to do something before being taken off. Spreads the play to Soufal on the far side. Soufal back to Jared Bowen. Come on, Jared. Looks to create space for the shot. Does so, and it's over the bar from outside the box. Not damaging, not troubling the goalkeeper. 59 minutes gone. No, what were you just looking at there? You look like you were deep into stats. Here comes Saeed Ben Rama, by the way. Well, hang on a second. I'm
just looking at that table that you mentioned. So
it's Souček. Sorry, no, I'm just cutting it. Souček coming off.
Yeah.
So interesting change. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. Sorry, just watching that shot, which what a waste of a good position. No, I was just having a look at the table. Yeah, it's very annoying. Just as I say, this weekend, lots of teams playing each other in and around that general area, and it's not a weekend you want to be losing one. So, still, just to clutching at straws for something to cheer us up. Tottenham's women lost to Villa, so that's.
That is clutching at straws, isn't it?
Well, it's always good to see Tottenham side on a losing side of things. But,
that's where we are. No, it's a realistic assessment, I think.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to see how Rio. I don't know if you've got Ben Rama on your stream yet, but I just wondered if you'd have an opportunity yet just to see where he's fitted into the team and how we're lining up now.
He seems to have gone drifted. It's a bit hard to see really, but drifted to on the left-hand side of our setup. So I'm presuming either Pablo's going to play a little bit more central or Paquetá drop a little bit deeper. But yeah, it's a bit hard to gauge at the moment because I'm a very jerky stream now. As I say, that Saeed just picked the ball up on the left-hand side.
Yeah, it definitely looks like that, doesn't it? Fornals looking like he's gone into that central position, presumably playing a more, to support Antonio, one would assume, and maybe Paquetá dropping back in to join Declan Rice in the centre there. Definitely Ben Rama playing on the left where Pablo Fornals had been. So it looks like how we line up. We're into the final 30 minutes. West Ham still a goal behind. We need a goal desperately from somewhere. Who's it going to come from? Is it going to come at all? Wolves have done nothing, have they, since they scored? No, in terms of attacking, anyway. But Ben Rama
don't need to, do they? Way we're playing at the moment.
No. Well, Ben Rama's just tricked his way around 2 players. Can he get a delivery in? He's played it short to Declan Rice. Oh, Oh, I thought it was going to go in for a minute. Declan Rice has had a shot from the edge of the box. Sorry, it's not Declan Rice. It's is it Rice or Paqueta? Well, we've seen a close up of Paqueta. I thought it was Rice, but let's have another look. The shot's actually taken a deflection. I thought it was going to creep in to the far corner, but it actually went out behind for what I assumed was a corner. But now we've seen Sarr throw the ball to the floor on the edge of the penalty box to take a free kick. So I have no idea what happened there whatsoever. I'm getting too excited over this. This is how much we're grasping at things to be excited by. It's just shocking so far. Wolves are about to make some changes anyway, Rio.
Yeah, no, we've seen more attacking attempt from Ben Rahman since he's come on the last minute and a half, 2 minutes. We have from the entire side. So, we've often said that maybe he's a better and a more effective player from the bench where he can run at players, tire insides, offer an extra dimension. Hopefully, we're going to see that today, and hopefully, he can capitalise on the kind of good showing he started already and force us a goal.
Those Wolves change it. We've just seen Pablo Fornals. He could have let the ball run out of play and taken the throw, but he tried to keep it in and inadvertently took a poor touch and actually conceded throwing, which kind of sums up the game so far. Now, let's see what's happening here with these changes for Wolves. We're 63 minutes in. I think it might be a double change. I didn't quite see what numbers were held up there. Is that the new man, Kuna, coming off? We're not seeing his number at the moment, so I can't actually tell you. There's 2 players coming off, I think, for Wolves. Gentlemen, if you see those, please do jump in.
Yeah, 9 is replacing 12. Sorry, I've got the teams up there at the moment.
So, yeah, it's Kuna and Podence coming off, the goal scorer off, which is interesting because I thought he'd been quite lively. Jimenez and 8 Nuri coming on. I have no idea if I pronounced that correctly, but there you go. That's the changes. Number 9, Jimenez on. 8, Uri. I'm not sure if we've got a number because he's behind Rio at the moment. I can't see the substitutes numbers if they're there. But anyway, double change for Wolves. Cross comes in from Cresswell. No one on the end of it. Familiar towel. And West Ham have a throw in on the other side. I mean, Rio, to be fair, we have looked a little bit more lively since Ben Rama came on, as you point out, which kind of begs the question why perhaps wasn't he playing a little earlier or even starting?
Yeah, just before the substitutions, a nice little move down the left again. Pekka and Fornals both involved. Nice little flicks. But yeah, we've shown more attacking intent since the change, and we have all game. Maybe he doesn't trust Ben Rama in this kind of game where you need a bit more defensive diligence and try and soak up pressure. And maybe that was his thinking. But we need to win games from the start. We can't rely on other teams. We can't play to other teams' strengths and try and react. Instead of matching up, play your own game, force the issue, take the game to other teams. We're just not doing that anymore.
Hobo has pointed out that the match thread on the EuMB.com general discussion forum is cracking along at a fair pace. I've just refreshed the page for the first time in about 3 minutes, and we've got 3 new pages. So yeah, it's I mean, it's as you would expect. People understandably angry the way things are going. But anyway, West Ham have a free kick. It's drifted into Antonio. Gets a contact on it, but doesn't really do a lot with it. And the ball's played out to Ben Rama on the left-hand side. West Ham keeping possession. It's a poor cross from Ben Rama, but West Ham managed to keep possession again. It's all West Ham now. But Wolves managing to back the hammers off fairly easily so far. That possession stat has changed a little bit. It's 60-40 now in favour of Wolves. I thought it'd be actually a bit more in West Ham's favour because we've pretty much controlled the game since they scored. But in terms of shots, 12-2 Wolves, 3 on target, 8 for West Ham, 2 on target. West Ham still in possession. Aaron Cresswell gets a cross, and that's a terrible cross from Aaron Cresswell, straight to the goalkeeper. Never, ever going to find a West Ham. I mean, we must be over 300 now, chaps, in terms of crosses without a goal. It was about 267, wasn't it, before when we looked at that a couple of weeks ago? So we must be well over 300 by now, but not a tactic that's paying any dividends, no, that's for sure.
No, I'm obviously still a couple of seconds behind you, but I've just seen that cross now, and that was just woeful, wasn't it? I mean, interesting. I was reading Paul Walker's article on Ben Rama during the week, and I think it's fair to say that Paul was not the biggest fan of Ben Rama. But since Bowen stopped, sort of gave up on running at people in favour of getting the ball and cutting back inside and going across the pitch, Ben Rama's about the one player we've got who does want to take people on. And we saw last week he certainly changed the game against Brentford. And you know, the little he's had on the pitch so far in this game, you know, if we're going to get any dividends, anything out of this game, I'm fairly sure it's going to come through his efforts. So, but then again, is he someone that's sort of better off as a sub sort of thing and doesn't influence games from the start? You know, what they call it, an impact sub is the modern vernacular. I don't know, but we don't see. I mean, when Ben Rama's got the ball, there's a bit of jeopardy. You know, nobody's quite sure what's going to happen. Whereas when he's not going on the pitch, then we're kind of all too predictable. Watching another sort of move flounder. Yeah.
Well, Wolves have just had us on the back foot for a minute or two, and yet we're back with this crazy situation where the ball's played out to Antonio. There's no one within 15 yards of him. Fortunately, he's managed to hold it up this time, and in the end, Ben Rama's won a free kick for a foul. But I don't know. Yeah, you kind of fear for David Moyes' future, I think, looking at this, because I think following those last couple of games, Rio, if you know, even if we had lost today and there had been signs that, you know, we'd look like continuing that very, very minor improvement, then I think, you know, they might have looked at it and thought, well, you know, those improvements have been made. You know, you can see signs, but it's just the same old. And you know, only tried different formations, different tactics, different personnel. But, you know, it's just, this is a team where this is a West Ham team that needs points, need to win these sort of games. And there's no evidence that we look like doing it, or even getting close to it.
No, you've got to look at the broader spectrum of our performances over the last year in the league. Obviously, and as we've said time and time again, European football has papered over the cracks a lot. But the fact of the matter, since the restart of the Premier League in August, we're just not getting a tune out of anybody. And as you say, we can tinker with tactics, tinker with formation, tinker with personnel, but no one is really responding. No one is showing any of the kind of form that we've seen over the last 18 months.
Yeah.
And for a club of our stature and all the progress we've made over those last 2 years, we're heading into a downward cyclone when it's going to end in one way only, and that's going to be relegation if we carry on like this.
Looks like we're going to see our first yellow card of the game. Yep, indeed it is. Late challenge from Agerd. Seems to pick up quite a few bookings, doesn't he, Noman? Pretty much won every game so far.
Yeah, I'm just about to see it, I think. I haven't seen it yet, but we'll have a look. Surprised it's the first, though. I mean, the one on Ben Rama a couple of seconds ago was like, just kicking somebody off the ball, and Ben Rama got himself up, didn't make much of it. Have a look at this one. Let's have a look at it now. Boom. Much contact there? I'd like to see that from another angle.
He was just a bit late, wasn't he?
Yeah.
A little bit off the pace again.
I mean, that's a yellow, and because the Wolves player rolled over about 6 times. There was a deliberate kick on Ben Rama a few minutes ago. He didn't roll over. He just got himself up, pulled his socks up, and no yellow card. Wolves seem to be making another couple of substitutions.
Yeah, Traore is one of the players coming on. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. Not much happening anyway.
Changes to happen.
Yeah, not much happening anyway. I mean, as is any time a Wolves player goes down, they're down for a long, long time.
Yeah.
You know, it's.
It looks like Lamina Nome is the other one. I think Lamina and Traore look like the two that are coming on. We've not seen it officially confirmed yet. Martinho seems to spend more time on the deck than anybody so far. But we're just waiting for confirmation. Well, the changes actually they've not even been made yet, but it was definitely Traore and Lamina that were poised to come on. So here we go. 72 minutes. We must be up to about 6 minutes of added on time now. That's without the substitute. So I wouldn't be surprised to see sort of 9 or 10 minutes added on here.
I don't think they go that far. I think he might balk at going into double figures, but I think for what we've seen so far, 6 is kind of the standard add-on for that. Yeah, 6 seems a nice round figure, you know.
Hwang and
Given
Moutinho
the paucity of our options up front and the way that we played, is anyone else just completely shocked that Skamaka's not made an appearance, not even seen to be warming up?
Yes.
It's bewildering.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked as long as he's actually, I mean, if he's fit to come on, you know, it's the.
But if he's not fit to come on, why is
he on the bench? But then that would be typical us.
Rio, just as you say that, Skamaka's just taken his tracksuit top off. So a lovely bit of prescience from
hang on. I'm just gutted that Lionel Messi hasn't been on there for us and changed the game completely.
If we lose this, Rio, I'm blaming you for not saying that earlier on.
There's 73 minutes on the clock, but the point stands, I think, that Rio makes. I mean, why? You know, yes, if he's not fit, why is he on the bench? And if he is fit, why is he not on the pitch? Another baffling substitution, but of course, this is this could all. I get the feeling. I mean, I don't know. And going back to what you were saying earlier, I do think that this will be the moment that if they're going to pull the trigger, this will be it. West Ham do slip into the bottom 3 after a game like this. I think keep an eye on. You know, don't go to bed, as someone once said. West Ham fans, I think you might see some news with regards to the managerial position tonight if this is the case. Of course. We'll let you know on KUMB if we do hear anything. We, of course, did break the news of Pellegrini being fired about 10 minutes after the game finished.
I mean, it's a double whammy here, isn't it? I mean, it's a loss, and you've got then the psychological thing of actually being in the bottom 3.
Yes.
You know, that there's, if you're looking for justification, you know, there it is. But as I say, for quite some time, I got the impression they've been kind of breathing against their own manager from within using.
Oh, Wolves have hit the post. Could be 2. Hit the post again. Another chance. He's put it over the bar. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Well, if you're talking about game-changing moments, we might have just seen it. Wolves have just hit the post twice in the space of a few seconds. Actually, the lines have spoiled it all. Now he's giving it offside. But let's just have a quick recap of what happened there. So Declan Rice. I think lost position, unable to retrieve the ball. The ball was played out onto the right-hand side, chipped to the far post, chested down. The Wolves player cut inside. Yeah, it's hit the crossbar. It's fallen straight to the number 3, the substitute, and he's hit the post from about 7 yards out. Yeah. And then the ball's fallen. Let's have a look. It's Neves who has the first shot. Neves hits the bar. The ball falls to the substitute. He hits the post, and it's smashed over. Who knows? Could that be the point of the game where everything changes?
If Neves had scored, that would have been game over. The rebound when it came to number 3, the substitute there, that's the offside. He was offside when the original shot came in. Yeah, so the rebound wouldn't have counted, but the first one certainly would.
Yeah, West Ham very, very lucky. Skamaka's on the pitch. Fornals has gone off. Skamaka is on the pitch. I guess David Moyes, assuming that moving our Spaniard into the centre hadn't had any real effect. So there it is. West Ham will no doubt go 2 up front here. 76 minutes gone.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the game now. One we lost at home recently, but where Skamaka and Antonio were on together, and for about 2-3 minutes right at the start of that little spell, they looked as if they were sort of capable of playing together. It looked like a partnership, and then they stopped doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they went from looking like they had a real understanding as if to look like they never met each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, if anyone's likely to get another goal, it's looking like the home side for sure. So we need to get our finger out. Time is beginning to run out, and it could be time running out for David Moyes in the dugout there, because one suspects a defeat, which would put West Ham into the bottom three, would probably be enough for the ball to think, well, you know, it's time to make that change. Reluctantly, because he's obviously done very well over the last couple of seasons for West Ham, but you know, the team on their way to relegation as it stands at the moment. It's just not looking very good. Vladimir Soufal is looking to change that. He's played it in to Scamacca, who's tried to shield to Paqueta, who's tried to head the ball into the path of Bowen, but the header's too strong and it's straight through to Sarr, and Wolves can breathe again. 1-0 to the home side. 77 minutes gone, Rio.
Yeah, and just on cue, my stream goes down. But yeah, no, judging by what we've been watching and the way things are panning out, you've got to worry for David Moyes' future, but not only David Moyes, but West Ham's future, because it's like the vicious circle repeating itself once again, isn't it? You're on the cusp of something really special.
Yeah.
The cusp of really kind of making progress and pushing on as a club. And for some reason, we seem to have this inordinate kind of ability to kind of disintegrate in front of everybody's eyes. And it's not just a gentle, steady decline. Everyone has fallen off a cliff, and I really can't fathom it out why. It's just shocking. But it's what we do, and I should be used to it by now, but every time it hurts.
There's so many parallels with relegations from season past, isn't there? I mean, of course, you know, Glenn Roeder's team, we've been having that a lively debate, it's fair to say, on the KUMB general discussion forum this week about Roeder's tenure back in 2002, 2003. Of course, in 2001, Glenn Roeder finished seventh. Well, just the Wolves are looking to get through again here, and it's the substitute number 3 who's got the ball. Doesn't look like it's going to come to anything, so we'll come back to it if it does. But yeah, I mean that season, known 02-03, you know, followed relegated, of course, with a record 42 points, 16 points clear of our nearest rivals in 19th, whoever that was. Can't remember. Was it perhaps Sunderland? Can't remember. But anyway, the season before that, we had finished 7th, and remarkable. Joe Cole made captain for that season, you know, and just didn't have a very good season that year. Parallels perhaps with Declan Rice, made captain at the end of last season. Could history
to be fair, Rice has probably been captain really on the pitch for most of the last 2 seasons, because Noble's been used sparingly as a sub, but for most games last season. I think we forget that. But yeah, I mean, Roeder obviously had his issues with Di Canio. Di Canio clearly refused to play for Roeder, and we got that sort of false dawn, didn't we, when Roeder, bless him, was unwell, and Brooking took over and said, "Look, I'm not Roeder, come and play for me." And Di Canio was mysteriously fit again. But that's shot on target from us.
It was, yeah. Scamacca won the ball, didn't he? Down, but the defender was trying to shield it out for a goal kick. Scamacca managed to nip in and win the ball, played it into Said Benrahma, who fired into the near post. Not a great shot, probably better options on, but yeah, that's the thing with this. This is the Said Benrahma argument, I guess. Rio encapsulated in
the decision-making process.
Yeah, absolutely.
His football brain isn't quite wired correctly. You know, it's very frustrating, because you can see the talent he's got, and you know, you see him beat 2 players and get into a great position. You think, square it, and he'll shoot, and then he'll get into another position when you'll say shoot, and he'll square it. Yeah.
Some very, very unhappy looking West Ham fans in that away end. Now, it's interesting to note that the away support has not turned on the manager to this point. There's been the odd voice of discontent, but not as a whole. Of course, they've been very, very supportive of Moyes. That's to be fair. They
Hold
usually
the
are.
front page there, Graham.
Yeah.
Latest news from Goodison Park: Everton 1, Southampton 2.
Oh dear.
Ward Prowse has put a free kick in. Not a good day for Merseyside. Brighton are now 3-0 up against Liverpool.
Danger here for West Ham or blocked. Shot came in, but it was blocked. It actually benefits us, no? It moves us back up to 18th, funnily enough, because Everton go below us. But, you know, there's no comfort to be taken from that, of course.
Have a look at the table now. But, were we being linked with Ward Prowse at one point start the season, or that's my imagination?
No, you're right. There was talk of a £50 million bid before we bought Paqueta. Another substitution for Wolves. It's the number 64 Bueno being replaced by their number 24, who is Gomez. So it's Gomez on for. I'm losing track of how many subs they've made. It must be at least 5, Rio, now.
It's got to be, isn't it? Because I'm sure it's 5. But I think they get special dispensation for living in the Midlands. They might have 7.
Steady on. 83 minutes gone. Anyway, it's still Wolves 1, West Ham United 0. West Ham have a free kick. Aaron Cresswell, 35 yards to go on the left. He's going to drift this one in. Where's this going to go? Looks to go at the far post. Decent cross, but predictably, Wolves managed to head it out for a West Ham throw-in, and the player who headed it out has gone to the floor, and he's going to roll around and stay there for a good 90 seconds or so, or possibly even more, I would say. To be fair, I might be doing him a little bit of a disservice because I think he's claiming a head injury. It's Collins, the number 4, who's gone down. Oh, well, he's actually straight back up, amazingly. West Ham have a throw-in. Anyway, time running out, gentlemen. 83 minutes gone. Throw-in's going to come in from the right-hand side. Soufal throws it deep into the box. And Bowen falls to Bowen, gets a shot away, but it's blocked. And just straight into Saar. Bowen had the chance from about 8-9 yards. And Wolves looking to break. We've only made 2 changes so far, haven't we?
It's so frustrating watching on a stream that's a bit behind yours, because it's like, then when you do see it a couple of seconds later, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
It's nothing's coming of it. I
feel like I've been watching the stream of Hummel West Ham supporting career, though. You just know nothing's coming of it, don't you? Yeah.
Forest are 2-0 up against Leicester now. That's Johnson's second.
Wow.
So that'll be game over there. That'll please me, lovely friend Stephanie, not. Particularly as it's a sort of Forest, they're just up the M1.
West Ham just had another chance. Cresswell put a cross in, nodded back to Declan Rice on the edge of the box, but he just didn't connect properly. And it's, he knows it. Oh, Declan, he knows it. You can see the frustration in his face. He knew it was a good chance. As Mickey Antonio actually got stretched the boot out to lay it back to him, and Declan's got it all wrong. And just isn't happening. Just isn't happening. And he knows it. I'd Forest down for that first relegation spot. It looks like they might be with a decent chance of staying out, chaps.
Yeah. Certainly, they're certainly 3 points better off than they ought to be after that the game when we played them. Come on, West Ham. Point gets us out of the relegation zone. Just looking at the as it stands table, it's us, Everton, Southampton all on 15 points as it stands.
Yeah.
Just looking at other schools, Burnley, where I spent 24 hours not so long ago, one up against Coventry, where outside which I spent a good hour and a half trying to get up the M6 the other day.
Apologies for the brief interruption. 4 minutes to go. 86 minutes gone. Wolves 1. West Ham United 0. Time up maybe for David Moyes. Who knows? We'll find out very soon. If West Ham can't get back into it. 0-0.
Which leads to a whole different debate, doesn't it? What's the project? Who'd you get in? What's their brief? It's it's just so frustrating every single time. It's like every 5 years we go through the same old nonsense and we bring ourselves back for it, and we still give ourselves hope. I don't know how much more I can take.
Yeah, it's a bit like that, isn't it? What's happening now? Have Wolves got a corner? I think Wolves have got a corner. Yes, they have.
Okay, don't look. Let's have a look at it.
I don't think he touched it either. It didn't look like he got much on it, did it? Anyway,
I think the original header might have come off. Yeah, I think the original header was from a West Ham player, and he let it go out. Okay, try to shield it out, thinking it was going out for a goal kick, and it did in fact go out for a corner. That wasn't bright.
2.5 minutes left. West Ham have got to find something. Did you say no? An equaliser takes us out of the bottom three.
Yeah, because
right?
At least until Bournemouth and Brentford play. I'm just thinking, watching all the Wolves players go down and all that. You've got three teams. You've got Wolves play Brentford, Wolves play Arsenal, and Brentford play Arsenal. Which one of those three games is going to have the most stoppage time?
Yes, good question. West Ham have a corner anyway. Ball came in to
so good at those, aren't we?
come off the defender, but corner came in from Bowen. It's just nodded clear. No Souček, no Dawson out there today. Oof.
I'm not sure if our crossing's terrible or if it's the people in the middle that aren't getting on the end of them.
No. Well, I can tell you we've got a free kick. Vladimir Soufal kicked in the head. He's had a couple of those, isn't he, in the last couple of games? Traore this time. And West Ham, where are we? 32 yards from goal. To the left of the penalty area. Cresswell's going to drift this one in as he did a few moments ago. We're pretty much down to the last minute of normal time now. And it's headed by the Wolves player. They managed to get it
5
clear.
minutes of stoppage.
They must have been down for longer, and we've had like 8
should be more, but I'm going for 5, knowing referees.
I'll go 4 because I just don't trust anybody anymore.
Cresswell lifts it into the box of the far post. Scamacca gets a little push in the back, but he keeps the ball in. West Ham still in possession. Played back to Paqueta. Paqueta plays it short to Benrahma. Benrahma looks to get it on his left foot. Does. Shot blocked again. West Ham still in possession. Declan Rice to the left of the box. Lifts the corner to the far post. Scamacca gets up. Looks to win a header. Now, it's been given as a goal kick, but I'm fairly certain that's a corner. Let's see if we can see it from the reverse angle. That will give us more of an idea, but it doesn't matter anyway. It's been given as a goal kick as we drift towards added on time. Cross came in from Rice. Can't really tell from that angle. Let's have another look from this angle. Can't really tell from that angle either. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's all immaterial. Here we go. We'll be able to tell from this one. No, I don't think there's anything in it. I think that's a goal kick. I think Scamacca's asking for something that's not like. So we're just waiting to see. Here we go. 6. There you go. Well done,
right.
Spot
I
on.
said 6 originally, didn't I? But
you did.
I downgraded it at 5 because I don't trust the referee. But I'll claim the kudos for that.
6 minutes potentially to save David Moyes' job. West Ham. The Hammers 18th in the live Premier League table as things stand. And but surely a defeat here would signal the end of Moyes' 3-year reign. Second time at the club. But West Ham still pushing forward. Saïd Benrahma on the left-hand side. Can he produce a bit of Algerian magic? Gets to the byline. Lifts it to the back post where Soufal's shot is blocked. Falls to Declan Rice on the edge of the box. Come on, Declan. Closed down quickly. Turns inside. Has another go. Dinks it wide. And that's a goal kick for Wolves. Oh dear. That's 1 minute of the 6 gone. I can confirm anyway. I don't think any of us are particularly confident of West Ham getting this back. I think that's fair to say, isn't it?
Absolutely. We've looked bright on the last since Ben Rama came on, but we're still not doing enough. We're still not clinical enough. We're still not threatening enough, and we're leaving it too late anyway.
Yeah.
And like I said at the Brentford game last week, and I know no one missed it, it's going to test a lot of people's mettle. The whole "would you rather win the FA Cup and get relegated" thing could come into play, and it would test a lot of people out. For my money, I think we're going to get knocked out by Derby and plummet into the Championship. So for a double whammy.
And probably get beaten by some Icelandic part-timers in the Conference League.
Oh, absolutely.
Lucas Paqueta for West Ham drives into the Wolves half. Come on, Lucas. Plays it out to the right. Jarrod Bowen tries to get to the byline, puts a low cross across. Antonio with the ball, but it's just Antonio loses possession and Wolves will look to break Traore. Burst through the centre. Declan Rice has taken one for the team. That's a yellow card for Rice. We're in the 3rd minute of added on time and Wolves will take their time, no doubt, over this free kick. I think that's it. I hasten to say, I think that could be it for West Ham, possibly for Moisey today.
It does really make you wonder how we could possibly survive this.
Yeah.
Given our form over the last year in the league, given the fact the situation we are in the moment, it is unworkable. There's no disguising it. And all the money spent in the transfer window in the summer, what have we seen from it? What have we improved as a club? Definitely not. We've got a lot of players who have come in who seem to have no ability how to utilise correctly. We're just treading water.
Wolves have just had a shot that's gone wide. I think that's Neves in the 4th added minute out of the 6. It was indicated by the 4th official a few moments ago. And I can't disagree. I think this is it. I think this is it for Moyes. I can't see how you come back from this. So much importance was pinned on this game. You know, a draw would have been enough, I think, to see him through. And we're just seeing the away
results
end.
Are coming in elsewhere. Brighton 3, Liverpool 0 was the final score.
Wow.
Yeah, good. The team just up the road from here, Bromley, have just gone 4-1 up against Yeovil. You might be pleased to know.
Do you think it's going to be the end of Lampard as well, chaps? I mean, if they go down at home to Southampton, I can't see him surviving that. Can you?
Please not until we appoint another manager.
You beat me to it, mate.
Now Wolves are through. This could be 2. This could be curtains for West Ham. And it is. That's game over. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. West Ham have totally fallen apart. Oh, hang on. No, we've got a flag up. We've got a flag up. It's been given as offside. So the agony is going to last for at least another minute. The Spanish manager's doing his absolute pieces on the bench. Now let's have another look here. Was he offside?
Yeah.
Let's have a look. Oh, it's very marginal. If so, I'd like to. I think we're going to see the lights out for that one.
Offside.
I think it looks more offside than it actually is. Let's have a look at that. I'm not convinced. You know, now the VAR are checking this. The line is out. It's very, very close. I mean, the Wolves player's arm is definitely offside. Of course, as we know, that doesn't count. Let's see what happens. It's the substitute Jimenez, and oh no, he's offside. Yeah, he's actually offside because of this, because his arm's there, and that's why he's offside. The feet are level. It's because that part of the body is here, isn't it? Which is decreed as the area in which you can score a goal from. Yeah. So we're very lucky. But anyway, it's not going to make any difference because there's about 15 seconds of time left unless Wolves make some kind of horrendous error.
I can tell you it's full time because it's just come up on the video printer thing. So whatever you're watching, it's full time. We've lost 1-0. Forest 2, Leicester 0. The other scores coming in.
Here's what I found.
Well, we're
Let's
still
see,
seeing the game play out here. Another shot comes in. Good save, actually, from Fabianski. Traore's had a really good shot in the 7th added minute. And that's it. 96-29. Final whistle blown. Is that the end for David Moyes as well? It's very, very difficult to see a way back for the manager. We said after Christmas there were winnable games potentially. You know, Arsenal was always going to be a difficult one on Boxing Day. But then came a trip, you know, the trips to Brentford, which we lost 2-0. Trip to Leeds, which we drew 2-2. Some respite at Brentford in the Cup last week, that 1-0 win. But another one, third consecutive winnable game here at Wolves today. From those 3 games, Brentford, Leeds and Wolves, we've taken 1 point. It's a sequence of results that have left West Ham in the bottom 3 of the Premier League. Now, this is interesting. I'm just watching David Moyes clap the away fans, and there is a fair degree of dissent. Lots of, should we say, coffee maker signs being aimed in his direction. Lots of people waving him away. The first, yes, the first notable sign of dissent, I think, generally from the majority of the away fans. I think it's fair to say, chaps, when you lose the away fans, you lose the club. And I'm fairly certain that's it for Moyes tonight. Of course, we'll keep an eye on that while perhaps we'll hang on for another 15 or 20 minutes just to see if anything happens, because I think if it is going to happen, it's likely to happen pretty soon. But your thoughts, Rio? Let's go at Rio first. Wolves 1, West Ham United 0.
Given the importance of the game against a club battling against relegation with us, the actual display just wasn't good enough. We were second best in every department. We let Wolves have too much possession. We offered very little in terms of attacking threat until probably 65 minutes in. And by then, we're fighting an uphill battle. There was a lot of talk in the week that we're going to be in the faces of Wolves from the off, make it uncomfortable for them. Revert to what we've been doing for much of the last 2 seasons. We saw no evidence of that. Probably a minute or 2 spell in the first half. But yeah, for a highly expensively assembled squad, we are delivering in absolutely no area whatsoever. We're lacking at the back. We're lacking in the midfield. We've got nothing up front. The manager doesn't seem to trust any of his players. The players, more importantly, don't seem to trust the manager. No matter what we try, who we try, and how we try it, nothing's working. And it's not been working in the league since January. It's now got unsustainable. Things have to change. If we want to have any hope of retaining Premier League status this season, things have to change and have to change now. But looking at what we've got coming up, we've got a crux game against Everton next week. After that, our fixtures aren't particularly pretty. So if any new incumbent does arrive, he's fighting a losing battle from the start. Not only has he got a rejuvenated squad, which looks downbeat, disheartened, and bereft of ideas, we've got to do it against teams that are battling at the top of the table, battling for much higher positions than we are. It's not going to be easy. And something has to change. I don't know who's going to come in. Don't know when they're going to come in, but I hope it's soon. But yeah, I am really, after 2.5 years of being really upbeat about the club since Moyes come in again. We've hit the heights of 6th and 7th in the league. We've had a great European campaign. We've had a couple of nice little cup runs. This just isn't working anymore. And in modern day football, we'd lucky to be in a job as it is. He has to go now.
Sack him now, says Rio. No, big game coming up next week against Everton. Will they give him that game or will they move now?
12-pointer, isn't it? Sorry, I keep disappearing. I don't know if he'll be in a job then. I don't know who would take over. I really can't argue with anything that Rio said. The second we go 1-0 down in a game, we look most unlikely. to actually rectify that situation. Wolves didn't have to do much after they went 1-0 up because they knew we weren't likely to do anything ourselves. That's got to change. Now, whether Moyes is capable of changing that, I don't know. Palpably not, because it's been like that pretty much most of this season. Really, I don't know what to say. It was just that appalling. It really was.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, got nothing to do with this, is I can't hang around because I've got some stuff to do. I've got company this evening, so the beloved's coming around and she'll want to be fed. So,
Okay.
but really, it's just not a pleasant team to be watching at the moment.
No, it's not. It's not good fun. And as I said, Gnome's obviously got to leave us, unfortunately. But Rio, if you're good for the next 10, 15 minutes, we will just hang around because, as I said, when Pellegrini was fired, the last West Ham manager to be fired, that happened. Of a slight difference being that it was a home game, but we do know that Karen Brady's not averse to making that decision after a game, as famously Avram Grant was fired in the tunnel at the DW Stadium against Wigan.
They didn't even want to let him on the coach. And
they didn't.
Scott Parker, I think it was, had to go and say, "Don't be stupid. Okay, yeah. You've sacked him. At least give him a lift home."
Yes, that's dreadful. Manuel Pellegrini fired 10 minutes or so after that game at the end of 2019. Of course, news that we broke for you on KUMB. I shall be keeping an eye on my WhatsApp for the next 10, 15 minutes to see if I get any notifications from the usual suspects about movement in that management position. But we'll see what happens. As you know, I've backed David Moyes consistently. Felt that he should be offered an opportunity to carry on and complete the job. My worst time ever as a West Ham United supporter was watching what happened to John Lyall all those years ago, and the way the away fans turned on him, the fanzines turned, North Bank Norman and those guys, and it sickened me as a West Ham supporter. Someone like John Lyall had given us so much, to see the fans turn on him like that, and it stopped me. And I stopped going to watch the team for 5 or 6 years. Just kept up with results, and then my kind of interest was only really re-energized with Knees Up Mother Brown. But anyway, that's another story entirely, one for the book now. But ever since then,
how close are we getting to writing that, bro?
Well, not any closer at all, actually. I don't think. But maybe we need a ghostwriter. But it's kind of ever since then, I've really, even perhaps Avram Grant was the only one that I've sort of thought, yeah, you're out of your depth. Even Pardew, I felt sympathy for towards the end. But I'm struggling. I've got to say, I'm struggling now to see how Davy Moyes can turn this around. That game today, it was such a huge game, massive game, especially as we'd lost at Brentford, especially as we'd just managed to hold leads. We had to get something out of that game today. Even a draw, I still would be sitting here now saying, let's give it time. We're not in the bottom three. No made the point earlier that the psychological impact of being in the bottom three has a huge effect on a squad. He's absolutely right. We've now got, and Rio's just made the other equally valid point that after Everton next week, which I think will win that game, regardless of whether Moyes is in charge or not, because as bad as we are, I think they're even worse. Some terrible games after that. Some really, really tough games. And I know West Ham generally, come good in the face of adversity. It's those sort of games that we're likely to pick up points from, but I'm struggling.
Here's a thought, though, Gray.
Yeah.
They've made the decision already that Moyes is going, but they don't do it until next week, irrespective of the result. Because if he goes, he might end up back at Everton and galvanise them.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Maybe they'll give Lampard the job here, just to make it even worse.
Please, God, no. Yeah. Never has somebody been appointed to managerial roles, despite all the evidence to the contrary that they're actually up to it. You know, sort of struggling with Derby. Suddenly got we struggled at Derby. Let's move him on to Chelsea. Let's sign him for Chelsea. didn't pull any trees up there. Well, I've been mad. Please don't fall for that.
No.
Listen, guys, I really have got to go.
Yep. Okay.
Lovely talking to you as ever.
Have a lovely evening. I'm sure it won't be, but
well, yeah. No. So, the beloved will cheer me up. She's good at that.
Maybe you can send it around here afterwards because I think I need a bit of cheering up as well. But anyway.
But well, it's been an interesting week. Anyway,
it has. And until next week, I suppose.
Yeah. Take care, everybody. Good to see you all.
Well, there you go.
Bye.
There you go. Gnome signing out on the stream. Rio, you good for a bit? Are we okay for a bit longer?
Yeah, I've got nothing on.
That makes two of us. I'm trying to put it off. I've just got to go and write about it now. So the longer I can put that off, the better. Let us know what you think on the stream. Do you think time's up for David Moyes? And actually, no. If you don't think time's up for David Moyes, let us know why. That's probably more interesting because I think overwhelmingly people responding to that would be saying that enough is enough. What about the players, Rio? How much responsibility should they be taking for the position we're in right now? Should it all be on the manager?
No, both parties are culpable. If you don't like playing for the manager, you at least put 110% effort on the pitch.
Yeah.
And we've got some big players with big reputations and big price tags. Now, I don't care if you don't like the system. You put effort in. And we're not seeing that. I know part of it is down to the managerial aspect and the coaching and the way he wants you set up. He wants you to be disciplined in your roles and things like that. But someone has to take responsibility. And you hear a lot of the kind of media, kind of modern day social media speak that, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that. We've had it in the past, even before the onset of Facebook, Twitter, etc.
Yeah. But
we see no evidence of it. And they're more accessible to people nowadays. So the more you say and the more you make yourself look silly by not delivering what you're saying in the press and on social media, the worse it gets for you. I can point fingers at virtually every member of that squad and say, you're not delivering. Now, for one player to be off form, fine. 2 or 3, fine, you accept that. But the entire squad, barring 1 or 2 people, and we're talking about 25 players here, to be completely off form, look uninterested, look, I haven't got a clue, there's something clearly amiss. Someone has to take the club by the scruff of the neck and shape it and change things on the pitch. No one is taking responsibility, no one's delivering the goods. And for the price tags they earn, for the money they earn, it's just not good enough. It's not good enough from a managerial point of view, and it's certainly not good enough from a personnel point of view.
What about the board? They take any responsibility for it? Because, I mean, they've been, again, playing devil's advocate here. They've been heavily criticised in the past, and many people will say rightly so. However, they have injected a fair amount of cash into the squad this year, and we know, that Daniel Kretinsky is primarily the reason for that. Made a £150 million investment into the club. But should they take some share of the blame? I mean, perhaps you could argue that they should have moved earlier on Moyes. The signs people have been pointing out for several months now. The signs are there. Should they be held culpable for this? Is it, have they got a part to play, or is this really down to Moyes and the players? The fact that they're just not performing on the pitch. Moyes has got the tool. You talk about bad workmen blame their tools, but this is a particular chippy who's got, the latest gear at his disposal, and expensive gear as well, very expensive tools.
I think for the first time since the Golden Sullivan era, you can't put the finger solely down to the board. As you said, they've backed him up with a lot of money. They've been incredibly patient given our league form. There's still a lot of issues regarding the club that I don't like, but their support for the manager can't be questioned at the moment. And that's to their credit. I mean, I hate giving them credit, but they've been very patient, backed him up with a lot of cash.
Yeah.
And it's from a playing point of view, we're not delivering. You can argue about the scouting system. You can argue about the way that the club set up behind the scenes. But the fact of the matter is, for the first time since David Sullivan's been involved in his club, he is not the one to point the finger at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's still issues around his ownership, the way he acts and the way that the club is kind of manufactured and set up to do things in terms of player production and off the pitch and things like that. We're still lacking a lot of areas, but for the first time, from a playing point of view, I'm just looking at the manager and the manager only. And he's been given a lot of money. He's been given a lot of money and he's spent on players he doesn't seem to even want to use or know how to use. And if these aren't Moyes purchases, if they've come from above what we've seen in the past, I'd be very, very shocked. If they are Moyes purchases, it's down to Moyes and Moyes only.
Okay. We touched on the point that Moyes might not be the only one facing the sack. I you know, Frank Lampard at Everton, I mean, his days must definitely be numbered. I mean, let's talk about that just quickly, Rhea. I mean, going down at home to Southampton, bottom of the table, 1-0 up as well, Everton. That, you know, how does he survive that game? I mean, as bad as it was for us today, at least we were away from home. How does Lampard get to be in a position where he's managing at West Ham next week?
I think we're looking at a situation next week where both teams will play against each other with brand new managers.
Yeah.
I think no one really hit it now on head. Like he was appointed on reputation rather than any kind of coaching or managerial kind of expertise. And as we've seen many, many times in the past, picking players to be managers based on their playing career doesn't always work. And I've seen nothing that Frank Lampard delivered as Chelsea manager, which gave me any kind of hope. He struggled to get a Derby side promoted with, was it 3 or 4 loan players from Chelsea?
Yeah.
And I think most of them turned out to be England internationals within a very short space of time as well. Mason Mount was there, wasn't he? I think, was it Tomori there?
Possibly, yeah.
I don't see what he offers a football club in terms of coaching ability, motivation. It's just all done on reputation and playing career. He doesn't really surround himself with a great backroom staff either. So, you know, I don't see what Frank Lampard offers any football club, let alone Everton at the moment.
No, you kind of get the feeling that could be the end of his managerial career, couldn't you? After 3
definitely.
successive failures, I mean,
the career in punditry lies somewhere.
It does, or in the Middle East or something like that. Another player, manager under pressure, I suppose, right now is probably Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. I mean, to go down 3-0 at Brighton. I mean, Brighton are one of those teams that can beat anyone on the day, but 3-0, that's a pretty convincing and humiliating result. I mean, was it not that defeat at Brighton? I think they went down 4-0 or 4-1 earlier in the season that cost Solskjaer his job, or I may be wrong there, but it was around about that time, I think. But I mean, Liverpool, look at the table, 8th in the table, 28 points from 18 games. Only won 8 out of 18 games. I mean, obviously their targets are a little different to West Ham as things stand, but he must be looking over his shoulder and worrying a bit, mustn't he, right now?
I think he's got a little bit more in the bank, doesn't he? In terms of he won Liverpool's first and only league in 30 odd years, the Champions League successes, but again, that's papering over a lot of cracks.
Yeah.
There's something clearly not right in the Liverpool squad either. And again, he spent a lot of money, but who do you get ready to kind of take over from Jurgen Klopp? For us, it's a little bit easier. You know, you can look at players, new managers, and think they're the right fit. They'll do the job for what we need at the moment. Klopp's built up such a reputation that it'd be a very hard one to take over from. Liverpool, I think they do need a change.
Yeah.
But it's hard to see who they get to step into his shoes and rejuvenate that club at the moment. It would probably that'd probably be a summer thing, a summer move. We get someone to work on the squad for 2 months completely, just trying to work into a brand new system, new personnel. Because Klopp's recent buys haven't haven't always been great, have they? We spent a lot of money on Nunes. Is a bit of an enigma. There's a lot of things wrong with current bosses at Premiership level at the moment.
Yeah, there is. Obviously, Graham Potter, of course, at Chelsea is under extreme pressure. And funny, it's funny you should mention Nunes, of course, Rio, because this is a player that West Ham were willing to spend up to £50 million on this time last year if they could have got the go-ahead when he was still at Benfica. The player that came in instead, Gianluca Scamacca, we only saw him briefly today, only out for 20 minutes or so, you know, obviously recovering from injury. Is he good enough to play in the Premier League?
I think he is. Based on technical ability alone, I think he's got all the attributes needed. He's playing in the system where, and as we saw today with Mikel Antonio, and it's not just a one-off thing, we're seeing our main striker completely isolated and cast adrift from the rest of the side. Where Antonio, his ability to hold up the ball is hit and miss.
Yeah.
Whereas we saw today, so was continually under pressure, where Antonio's touch was somewhere in a different continent today. With Scamacca, you can at least, for a fact he will hold the ball up. Whether the players get up in support for him to distribute it is a different matter. But when I've seen him play this year, he's headed the ball well. He's held the ball up well. He's got great passing ability. I've seen him hit crossfield passes to. It's just playing in a team that's bereft of confidence, bereft of ideas, and for a manager, I don't think completely trusts him. But again, if you don't trust that particular player, why are you spending a huge amount of our budget, £30 million plus, on a player you don't particularly have great faith in?
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, we've still not heard anything. I can tell you that. David Moyes has not been sacked yet. I can confirm that much. Hang on, I've just had a little private message come in. Let's just make sure that's okay. All right. Hopefully I'll have an update for you on the situation in the next couple of minutes or so. There is okay, I'll come back to that in a second. I've just had a message come in which does indicate that Moyes is going to remain in his position, which isn't really any news at all because of course he's the manager. But I think anybody expecting him to be fired tonight is going to be kept wanting from my latest message I've received there from someone very close to the upper echelons at the club anyway. But yeah, so as you say, Rio, there's a lot of managers under pressure at the moment. But what a game that's going to be next week now. You know, West Ham, Everton, two clubs, you can't. I mean, imagine if we lost that one. What's it going to be like then if we go down to Everton at home next week?
Well, the thing is, I mean, if neither club, as Noam said, if Everton are going to kind of balk at the idea of changing Lampard because they want Moyes, they're waiting for us to blink first. You're potentially going into a game that is so highly charged, so desperate for both sides to get 3 points.
Yeah. In
a completely toxic atmosphere. And as soon as someone goes to goal down, because that is not going to be a 0-0 draw next week.
No.
Neither side can defend for Toffee at the moment.
No pun intended.
Yeah. And if neither side blinks in terms of managerial appointments, that's going to be something else, isn't it, that one? Even if they do change. It's hard to see how a new incumbent can change the mentality of a squad straight away, the mentality of a support. Because I know Everton fans are absolutely fuming with what's going on up there.
Yeah.
We've been quite fortunate until today. The away support has only seen signs of turning today. There hasn't been great wholesale derision of Moyes until, well, it wasn't even last week. I think it's like resigned defeat. The game before New Year's Eve, wasn't it? So we haven't seen widespread kind of anguish and dismay at Moyes so far at home. So maybe I don't know. It's going to be a very weird one. Either way,
it is.
it's a very, very strange situation at the moment. It's not a pleasant one because you're going into a game where normally I'd be looking forward to getting out, going to watch my club play, being amongst people that, you know, I think the world of and my fellow fans, looking forward to something. And we're going to walk into the unknown. It's a potential minefield. And it's potential minefield not only for us, but for visitors as well. So, yeah, it's going to be a very strange one next week.
Yeah, it is indeed. Just seeing scenes from, there's an on-pitch protest at the moment at Goodison Park. Fans on the field holding up anti-ball banners, urging the other fans to support them and come down onto the pitch. Signs, you know, it's very, very. I mean, there was also a story. I don't know how true it was, so I can't speak for the veracity of it. But the story was that Everton's board stayed away from the game today for fear of their safety.
Yeah,
so, did you hear that as well? Yeah. So I wonder if we'll see David Sullivan make a tactical retreat next weekend. Of course, he's on his own now. He hasn't even got old DG next to him to take some of the flack. It's going to be, as you say, especially if we go down. Could you see another Burnley? Maybe could it get that bad next weekend if we were to lose?
No, the situation regarding the whole Burnley thing. Well, we knew firsthand what was kind of being developed, and the rug got pulled from underneath us. Then things are not nowhere near that bad at the moment because we've had some investment, we've had some success in recent times.
Yeah.
So it's not a Burnley stakes yet, but I think if the trigger doesn't get pulled on Moyes before the end of the season, you could see a lot of disgruntled people towards April, May time.
Yeah, very much so. If you haven't done so already, get yourself on the KUMB.com general discussion forum. If you've got another window open on your PCs or your handhelds or whatever. Lots of, as you would expect, lots of chat going on with regards to David Moyes' position at the moment. Not many people currently backing his retention as things stand, as you'd expect after a very disappointing win up at Wolves right now. Just seen another note come in, and it's not about Moyes. Just to reiterate what I did say a few moments ago, it doesn't look like David Moyes is going anywhere tonight. From the regular KUMB sources. So it looks like that debate is going to rage on for the next few days and almost certainly into Everton. Anyway, of course, things could change. It's a fluid situation, but as things stand, David Moyes is not about to be sacked. I can tell you that much. And he remains in situ as West Ham United's manager. Match stats from today. We didn't do that, did we, Rio? In the end, it finished as follows: 58-42 in Wolves' favour for possession. Both teams had 16 shots at goal. Now, here's some perhaps slightly interesting. Wolves had 3 of their 16 on target. West Ham had 4 of their 16 on target. Of course, nothing to write home about, but that's where we are. 4 corners for Wolves, 3 for West Ham. West Ham committing 7 fouls to Wolves is 10. But of course, the only statistic that counts, as we always say on this show, is the one in the goal score column, and that was 1 for Wolves and 0 for West Ham. Now, having a quick look at the table, Rio. I mean, again, maybe this is why the board haven't acted yet and aren't going to fire him straight away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams from Southampton in 20th place at the bottom there, right up to Leeds in 14th. There's only 2 points that separate those 7 teams. Even Forest, on 20 points. Yes, they've had a couple of decent results lately, but they've got a terrible goal difference of -19, which is probably worth a point off, you might say. Of those teams, West Ham's goal difference is currently only bettered by Leeds and Leicester. They've got a couple of points each more, both for -7. But all the teams around us, you've got Wolves, victors today, 17 points now in 16th place, -15. Bournemouth, -21. Southampton, -17. Everton, -11. Then West Ham, -10. Do you think they might be looking at that and thinking, well, we're still not, adrift? I mean, at what point do they pull the plug here, Rio? I mean, do they? I mean, we a lot of people suggested that when West Ham went into the bottom 3, that would be it. There might be a clause in Moyes' contract that said, when we fall that far, that's when they that's when they pulled the plug. It's not happened yet, or it's still early days yet. Of course, it's only half hour or so after the final whistle. But generally speaking, we know with these guys, with Grant, with Pellegrini, it was pretty instant after the game when we fell into the bottom three. Bilic was slightly different circumstances, but it is very close. Do you think that's the point I'm trying to make? Do you think that's what, when they're trying to process the situation, they're looking at the table thinking it's 3 from 7 now, or even 3 from 8 if you take Forest into it, and we're still not adrift?
I think the fact that David Moyes, when he came back to the club, he did such an amazing job, and he took an enormous amount of pressure off the ball, because it went from being incredibly toxic over there into, let's face it, during the Europa run, into a place where you'd want to go every single week because people were loving it. COVID helped as well, because when we were struggling under Moyes, he kept us up, but it was in front of empty stadiums. So he's bought the board a lot of time, and he's bought the board a lot of goodwill, and took a lot of pressure off them. And maybe they're thinking, now he's done us a massive favour. He took all the heat away from us over the last couple of years. Do we afford him a little bit more time than we normally would do? But I just think modern day football, our league form, it's just not sustainable. And from a business point of view, when we obviously don't know what the clauses in players' contracts are, whether if we do go down, any of the big earners will take wage cuts. We all know that Declan's going to go. From a financial point of view, can we actually sustain Championship football? We might be able to do it for 1 year, but it's getting an increasingly difficult league to get out of again. I know that Norwich keep bouncing back, but their model is completely different. They don't invest in staying up. They invest in just, taking the Premiership money, then coming back, because they've largely got the same squad of players who've done it before. We haven't got that. We might lose so many players.
Yeah.
That it makes the task at hand incredibly 5 or 6 times difficult. We haven't got to fight for a relegation battle in the Premier League. Have we got to fight for a whole season in the Championship? I don't think we have. And I'm thinking, from a financial point of view, can they afford not to sack him?
Good points. Good points. Well, let us know what you guys think. Plenty of you joining us on the stream this afternoon to watch that game and witness the fallout thereafter. Let us know your comments down there. Give us a shout. Let us know what you think of the situation. I asked earlier, does anyone want to make a case for Moyes' retention? I don't think anyone has. To be fair, let's have a quick look at some of your sorry, just wondering what was going on there. Some of your comments. DCB 2727 says, I cannot think of an experienced manager right now that I would think would be willing to come in and right the ship while also implementing the tactics needed to keep us up or get us out of the Championship. Strings One says, Europa covered the cracks. I've said this for a long time. Couple of comments about Avram Grant that we mentioned a little bit earlier. DCB 2727 again saying maybe Noble takes over and keeps us up, then gets canned 3 weeks into next season. And let's talk about that, Rio. David Moyes, didn't seem that pleased, I don't think, to have Mark Noble back on the team. But is there a possibility Noble could come in and look to steady the ship for a few weeks until the permanent appointment's made? What do you think of that suggestion?
I've had a couple of messages from people that I know that have already suggested that maybe Noble comes in, steps in, with maybe Trevor Brook in advising, as he's done in the past. For me, it's a no-no. We need Mark Noble and his influence around the training ground, and possibly as the conduit between the players and whoever the new manager is. What we need at the moment isn't a gamble. We need someone who actually guarantees safety. Some of experience, some of ambition, someone who can drive us forward. We've got a squad that looks beaten before they set foot on the pitch at the moment. We need to change that mentality. But we need to change it in terms of tactical as well, not just kind of all bluster and kind of, up in the air kind of talk and things like that. because we've seen that. I mean, I think that's how Frank Lampard kept Everton up last year, wasn't it? It's all bluff and bluster, no real gumption behind it.
Yep.
We need an actual football man with new ideas to rejuvenate, which is obviously a talented squad, which is just completely misfiring.
Yeah.
Mark Noble's got a place at this club, but he's not as manager at the moment.
Okay, fair enough. Let us know what you think. Do you think Mark Noble could do a job? Let us know in the comments below. And of course, if you enjoyed the stream today, if you like what you've seen, there's also a little option to give us a thumbs up down there. Give us a click if you've enjoyed it. It helps the channel out. And of course, if you haven't already, subscribe for notification of when we go live. There's a little bell down there as well somewhere. If you ring that, whenever we do post a new stream or a match preview or anything like that, you'll be notified first and be able to get a look at that before everybody else. Thank you to someone's just done it already. Thanks, whoever that was. I can see another thumbs up going in there. Yeah, Mark Noble, let us know what you think. Could Noble come in? Strings one says no ex-players. And thank you, DCB, for that comment saying I love the balanced perspective found here. Don't go on the general discussion forum thread regarding Moyes right now, because I can tell you it certainly isn't very balanced over there right now. I might pop on there later to try and address that with lots of antis in there right now. You can expect it. It's understandable. It's a dreadful situation, West Ham. Why are we in this situation, Rio? What's gone wrong this season? Is it because we bought players who aren't good enough? Is that upset the equilibrium? We had a good settled squad last year. Have those new players come in and upset, the apple cart in terms of the players who were playing are now finding it difficult to get into the team? Is it, the thing I find difficult to accept is that this is all down to the manager. It's a manager who's had this team well-oiled, productive side for the last 2 years, been going really well. All of a sudden, it's gone wrong. Why has it gone wrong? What do you put it down to?
I think what I'm looking at 2 or 3 different things here. I think losing 2 key players of his backroom staff hasn't helped.
Okay, so we're talking about Pearce and
Irving.
Okay, yeah.
And there's a lot of talk about Stuart Pearce's actual coaching contribution, and I know a couple of the ex-players weren't particularly keen on him. But you lost 2 big personalities out there, and there's one thing that you won't see from Stuart Pearce is like not firing players up, and not settling for second best, and lack of effort. So losing 2 key players from the backroom staff hasn't helped. There's been a huge transition in the amount of players coming into the club. My worry is that a lot of these players were kind of bought on reputation only, with no real clear plan how to utilise them.
Yeah.
So the huge transition in playing squad hasn't helped, because we've had a really close-knit unit over the last 2 years, as you said.
Yeah.
And everything seemed really happy off the pitch as well as on it. That smile's been taken away, and that never say die attitude that we could always be a goal down, and you always thought, no, we're going to get into this. We can get at least a draw, if not a win here.
Yeah.
As soon as we look beaten before on the pitch, and as soon as we go a goal down, there's no fight there. You can also look at Mark Noble's demise in terms of not being around the club full time, because he's another one like Pearce who wouldn't settle for second best and always galvanise the squad and welcome any new players who are coming into the team. He was always the first on the phone, welcoming them, trying to get them settled. So losing that presence hasn't helped. Maybe because we've bought big, it's undermined some of the ageing players in our squad.
Yep.
That hasn't helped either. But, they should be looking, the likes of Aaron Creswell, the likes of Craig Dawson. I'm not singling them out. But they should be looking to kind of, particularly Aaron Creswell has been around the club for a long time. And again, he's part of the furniture. He's not the natural kind of successor for the Mark Noble kind of grooming role, if you ask me.
Yeah.
He should be getting these new players in, welcome to the club, getting them settled. I don't think he's got got quite the credibility to do that.
Okay.
But he's the senior player. But you look at, we're an ageing side as well. The core of that team, we've got players like Fabianski, late 30s, Ogbonna in his 30s. Aaron Creswell in his 30s, you know, Mikel Antonio in his 30s. The spine of that team is still old and hasn't been replaced with any kind of real clear plan. So I think it's not just one individual factor. I think there's about 5 or 6 that have all contributed, and it's come to a head. And instead of a gradual transition, we've tried to revolutionise and not evolve.
So is David Moyes a little bit unlucky in that sense then?
I think he's playing, in some respects, yes, because he's trying to play catch up for the kind of poor investment in the past.
Yeah.
We invested in areas which were the glamorous positions, the likes of Felipe Anderson, glamour position, glamour player, fell off a cliff. There was no real clear plan to evolve the spine of the squad, which we talked about during the COVID era.
Mm-hmm.
We all saw that the spine of our team was getting older and older. There's no clear evolution of how we're going to improve it. It wasn't a step-by-step thing. We're trying to do it all at once. No clear plan to actually kind of introduce it. Poor scouting network until the summer. There was no real scouting network until the summer.
No.
And that's blown up in our face as well. So that's another thing you can look at. Has the actual scouting system and the director of football failed in its initial and only task? Yeah, there's about 7 or 8 things you can look at and go, you know, this is all contributed, and all of them same things contributing at the same time as erupted, and it's erupted in and destroyed us at the moment because we look like an absolute shadow of our former selves.
Yeah, we certainly do. See, I kind of think it goes one thing that we don't talk about so much anymore, but that whole area of trying to find a striker to supplement Mikel Antonio. I mean, I think the seeds were sown when we sold Sebastian Haller to Ajax, when, of course, the club was in desperate financial trouble. And, you know, we copped a 15-20 million pound loss on Haller, whatever it was. We pledged to pay 45 million for him, I think it was, and end up taking 22, 23, I think it was, from Ajax. It's a huge loss. And that whole year and 18 months of only having Antonio as a striker, it was ludicrous situation. Now, I don't know if Moyes was to blame for that. You know, we saw him come out in press conferences and say, you know, I'm waiting for the right man. I'm not sure how much of that is true. I think there's an element of protecting his employers there, which, you know, he's often done in the past. But for me, that's where the seeds of our demise were probably sown, in the fact that we left Antonio alone so long. And of course, it seemed to be working out because he was playing fantastic football, right? I mean, he was really achieving all his targets, scoring lots of goals. You know, there was talk about him being given an England debut before he went to play for Jamaica. And we just left it. And then, you know, we had this situation as recently as this time last year when Moyes was in the transfer market saying, well, you know, I don't really want to bring in anyone who's not good enough. And at that point, I think you're thinking, well, you've got to lower your sights, really. If you can't get the players, you've got to bring somebody in. And we absolutely ran those players into the ground last year. I mean, I just saw, I'm not sure who it was who made, I think it was Hobo who made the comment about, you know, it's been evident for the last 12 months, which is kind of, I don't generally buy that argument because, as we know, there were mitigating circumstances for our form towards the end of last season. The fact that the club had put everything into winning the Europa League, all our attentions were directed to that, and the fact that we played so well over the course of the first half of the 21-22 season meant we were in kind of quite a luxurious position, and that we were able to lose a few games and do that because, you know, we were still doing pretty well. We were 4th or 5th at the time, you know, going into Christmas. And we did have some fabulous results, you know, with our attention put into those games. Lyon, of course, Sevilla, incredible nights, fantastic nights for the club. But the fact that we've just waited until last summer to invest so heavily in the areas, and not even in the right areas, is it, Rio? Because I'm a big fan of Aaron Cresswell's, but I can clearly see that he needed help there. And I was always unsure about signing, a player that Chelsea deemed just simply not good enough to play for them. I'm not sure. We bought the right players. Right back another area. We had Soufal. But if you're trying to play this expansive brand of football, which and so much, probably even more important than strikers these days are those in modern football. If you haven't got players who can play wing back or fly down play that role, you're going to struggle. All the best teams have got fantastic fullbacks or wing backs these days. Fast, can cross the ball, can be dangerous in certain situations. We haven't got that.
Yep.
Ben Johnson for everything. He's not an attacking fullback. He's a good defender. He's never going to be putting crosses into dangerous areas and popping up the odd goal. Vladimir Soufal tries, absolute grafter, gives 100% every game. It's not his game. On the other side, Cresswell, he's always tops the charts in terms of deliveries from the left. But the fact that we've put in 300 crosses or whatever over the course of this season without scoring a single goal just proves that we haven't got the capability of as a squad to convert those chances. Those for me are the key areas that we didn't address. And I just think we bought the wrong players. Yes, we needed another central midfielder. Did we need to invest 50 million in that area? I'm not so sure. When we, other areas, yes, we strengthened again. Looks like a good player. Scamacca, for me, the jury's out. I mean, I was probably a little bit harsh on the forum recently when I described him as kind of like a footballing equivalent of the Leaning Tower of Pisa because of his lack of mobility. He's young. I think he could still come good. Flynn Downs, I don't know why we bought him. I'm going to be honest. I know people say he's done well in the fleeting appearances he's had. I don't know why he's at West Ham. That's 10 million added to the 50 million we spent on Paqueta. And I just think we've invested in the right. The question for me is who were those? Was it Newman who kind of gave the green light for those signatures? Was it Moyes? Was it the board? We've got one or two players in there that I think Downs is a from our favoured agency, should we say? One or two others maybe. I think it's the recruitment. And for me the question is who's that down to? Is that down to Moyes? I mean, yes. I mean, obviously he's ultimately, played some part in that, but how much of a part? And the thing is, we never know. And I've gone on a long monologue there, which covers sort of lots of areas. But I mean, for me, the point being that's where it started. The fact you go back to the whole striker thing, and that's where it began. That's where the seeds of it were for me.
Those 2 points, I completely agree. Our recruitment's been abysmal, but our recruitment's been abysmal for far too long now, since the Pellegrini era. I mean, I meant to touch on it a couple of games ago. Look at our record signings and the value we got out of them, and the actual understanding of how these players play and operate. Because we're signing players not because they fit into our system, they fit into our club. We're signing players on complete reputation and price tag alone, and we're losing a whole lot of wedge on them.
Yeah.
Like Anderson. If people want to look up our top 20 records ever signings, you see the value we got from them top 20 because it'll make you cry. But I also think Moyes is culpable quite a bit as well because I also think he's far too rigid in his system. He had a very, very settled kind of way that he operated at Everton. He's trying to replicate that here. And yes, it's worked for the first 2 seasons, but we don't seem to evolve. We don't, as you say, the recruitment's not helped because he doesn't seem to trust anyone who's come in or know how to utilise them properly. Mm-hmm. But it's also, in terms of getting a replacement for Mikel Antonio and trying to evolve in the front line, all the players that he kind of was rumoured to be interested in were identikit players. All the big, muscular, powerful strikers, who are put in the shift, run their nuts off, hold the ball up well to bring midfield into play. He obviously didn't trust any of the names banded about. So maybe you've got to evolve. Maybe you've got to work with what you have, what you can bring in. Football doesn't stand still. He's obviously utilised Thomas Souček as a kind of a mini Fellaini for his first 18 months, 2 years of his tenure.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's had to change that because Declan Rice wants a more kind of expensive role. Maybe you should just hit the Declan. stick at what you're good at. Let Thomas do what he's good at. It's for the better of the club, and it'd be better for your career in the long term. There's a lot of things that we just haven't evolved in, and football's an evolving game, and we just don't seem to do it.
No, some good points, Rio. Some good points. I can tell you that David Moyes is actually currently speaking to the press as we speak. It's the post-match presser has begun, and I'm going to give you a few comments. I'll take you through what we've got. I've got little bits and bobs coming in right now. Talking about West Ham's current struggles, Moyes says we've probably increased expectations greatly in the last few seasons. I can understand the frustration. It's quite often the journey you have to take. Talking about it's kind of perhaps thinly veiled question about his future. Talking about the club's stability. Moyes says that if you look at it, it's the clubs who normally stick with it, presumably meaning the manager, are the ones who get results. Interesting comment. On the game itself, Moyes says there was an awful lot more from us in the second half. I think that might be a little bit generous. We're not clean or clinical at the moment. We lose our goal at a corner kick on a counter attack, but I don't think we've been outplayed here. And on falling into the bottom three, West Ham, of course, down into 18th, back in the bottom. I think it's the first time this season we've been in the bottom three, if I'm right, if I recall correctly. Moyes says there's always a chance. You have to get at it for the next one. I'm pleased with the team's attitude and commitment, but we need to sharpen up the quality. It happens, he says. At the moment, if you said we were well beaten today, it would be a different story, but it was an incredibly close game. And looking ahead to next week, he says, I think what we've given West Ham supporters in the last 3 years, they'll give us back. I guess talking about backing from the fans. I'm sure that will help us. Is that going to happen, Rio? Are the fans going to get behind Moyes and the team from the start?
You'd hope so. And I have every faith in my fellow supporters because, I'm a West Ham fan through and through, lived in East London all my life. I trust a lot of people, but I think that's misplaced optimism for Moyes. I think he's underestimated just how far his stock has fallen in the last 6 months.
Yeah, I agree. What do you make about? He's obviously going to say this, but what do you make about his comments about saying it was a close game today? We weren't well beaten. We were an awful lot better in the second half. I don't think we've been outplayed here. Are they excuses, or has he got a point?
We was a lot better team in the last 27 minutes, only because we injected a bit of a different attacking impetus, or to put it bluntly, some attacking impetus. We didn't offer nothing going forward until Saeed Benrahma comes on.
Yeah.
And we all know how enigmatic Saeed can be, And again, he's a player the manager doesn't trust. Otherwise, we'd be starting week in, week out. I think that's quite a lot of nonsense there, because we were second best for the large proportion of that game.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think we offered anything in the first half. And what we did in the second, again, was, result with a kind of a change which had to be made. Another change that had to be made come far too late. And by then, we've lost the game.
Okay, all right. If anyone's got any questions I'd like to fire at myself and Rio, please let us know. We're going to wrap up fairly quickly, but if there's anything you'd like us to address, feel free to drop it in the comments below, and we'll try and get to that before the end of the stream, which, as I said, will be very, very soon. We're going to wrap up shortly. David, a bit more from Moyes from the press conference. Asked again about his position as manager and whether he feels he can turn it around. He says, I'd never look at myself as having credit in the bank. To manage in this league is a big thing. I'm not daft, he says. I've had enough games in it, and as a manager, we've got to try and turn it around. I definitely know we're good enough to stay up. At the moment, I'm just getting to a point where it's happening too often. I'm not going to be an excusey kind of guy, he continues. adding, if you ask me about mitigating circumstances, there've been bits of that all season, but I'm not using it as an excuse. Is that an excuse, Rio? I'm not quite sure.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Sorry, Dave, we're not having it. All right, okay. Graham Upson, got a question for you, Rio. Given where we are and what we've got, what style, and presumably Graham means the squad, what style and character of manager would you turn to now if we change? And he hasn't asked for anyone, but I suppose we could perhaps throw in a name or two if we've got any. What do you make of that question?
That's a tough one. Given the situation we're in, we need someone who's going to be a motivator, get past the fight, get past the battle. And I know this isn't going to be a hugely popular choice, but I think that Sean Dyche could do that. Just as a temporary measure to the end of the year, we need something just to keep us up at the moment. We can't think long term. You know, we're thinking long term. Obviously, want a more kind of someone more, dare I say, more sexier in terms of the type of football he's offering, what he's going to deliver for the fans.
Mm-hmm.
But at the moment, we need someone who's a firefighter, someone who can actually galvanise the squad, bring together what we have at our disposal and make us fight.
Yeah,
we don't know if there's any funds available to kind of rejuvenate what we have at our disposal at the moment. Given the amount of cash spent in the summer, I think if we did, it wouldn't be very much. And the January transfer window is always a bit of a minefield anyway. So you're looking at utilising what you have at your disposal and making them fighters. Because we're not seeing people scrap for West Ham on the pitch at the moment. We're seeing people roll over and die before they even set foot on the pitch. So we need something to galvanise the squad. I don't think there's a clear and obvious answer out there. Obviously, I'd like to have someone who's going to be more progressive and expensive in terms of the football they play. But at the moment, do we really need that? We really need just to maintain our Premiership position.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of in agreement with you on that one. I mean, you know, it just, you look back at West Ham's recent history with managers, there's no continuity there at all. It's kind of boom and bust. And we always seem to go from one extreme to the other, kind of lurch from pragmatic to exciting. And it never seems to work out. I mean, I'm just looking back at the last few years, you know, we've gone from Roda to Pardew, complete opposites, and we've gone from Pardew, you know, then we brought Curbs in, who was, you know, I mean,
again, it mirrors our recruitment strategy for players.
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely, it does.
It's been either the behest of what the fans supposedly want, at the behest of what the board actually wants. Like Moyes was kept in just to purely keep us up and stabilise the club. Allardyce was brought in purely to get the club promoted and stabilise the club. Whereas when we went down a different route, Billups was brought in because of his history of West Ham and his reputation for playing football. Pellegrini was brought in purely on reputation. And Avram Grant was brought in purely because he used to use the sauna around the corner and he'd won a European trophy.
Yeah, and a Wednesday afternoon when he was supposed to be training.
The only time we've actually been progressive in attempting to build a manager was Alan Pardew, because his stock at the time was good in terms of being an up-and-coming manager who can build, develop and expand on what the club should be. It wasn't to everyone's taste, but no, initially he did that. No, it took 2 years to get up, but you know, I liked what he did and what he was building towards, because he was building a young, hungry squad which wanted to go places. Typical West Ham, we get somewhere, i.e. the FA Cup final, on the cusp of something great, and it all dies around his ear holes. But it's in our DNA, isn't it? That's what we're born to do.
It is. And of course, you know, so we went from Pardew to Kerbishley. And, you know, many people, I recall that season where we finished 10th, and many people were so bored because we were comfortably mid-table from about February that they were almost yearning for another season of relegation battles and strife and that sort of thing. Of course, again, opposite attracted right after. Zola come in. attacking football didn't work. Grant, the pragmatist, Sam Allardyce. Well, we all know about Sam, as you said. You touched on Bilic, to Moyes, kept us in. Pellegrini was supposed to bring a bit more flair, didn't work. Moyes, it's up and down, all the way from, all the way from Roda. The entire current century really has gone. We've lurched from one extreme to the other. I'm kind of, Graham's asked, who would you turn to now? And I've often said I'd like to see a manager given a 5-year contract, and regardless of what happens, he stays for those 5 years, and we can try and build or give us a platform to build a successful future on. It's not going to happen. Football just doesn't work like that, Rio, does it anymore? No. So I'm kind of probably at the point now thinking, well, if we're only going to get a manager who's going to be here for 2 years, then why not go for someone like a Bielsa or someone like that who's just going to play mad football for 18 months and you're just going to get a bit of fun out of it, because if there is no longevity, if you're not building for the future, then you might as well go for the most outrageous suggestion that you possibly could. Why not? Bielsa's available. Who knows? But anyway, Graham, I do hope that answers your question. Thank you for that. Jimmy Ward asks, it's not really a question actually from Jimmy. He's saying, how depressing is a race between us and Everton for Sean Dyche? I'd put money on Moyes being in the away dressing room next Saturday at the Olympic Stadium. Don't think that's going to happen. Now, there was another question. Where is it? Yes. Hobo asks, do you think the board have been making inquiries elsewhere? Rio?
If they haven't been, then it will sum up some of their tenure by being completely inept. They should have been making inquiries. No, they know what's going on the pitch. They must know the disquiet off the pitch on the training ground. If they're not been making plans elsewhere, then I'd be devastated, furious, but also not surprised.
Well, I can answer that in one word. We know one sentence maybe. We know for a fact they've been looking. Of course, it would be absolutely remiss of them not to consider alternatives for a business of this size. But yeah, they absolutely have been making inquiries. I think there was a report, wasn't there, recently? I think Jacob Steinberg, who's currently writing for The Guardian, used to do a bit for EuMB back in the day, actually alluded to that, mentioned that they'd contacted Emery's representatives before he went to Villa. So we know they're making inquiry. And to be fair, actually, I think this is something where, the board are constantly making inquiries to see who's available for a year, 18 months or whatever. I think that's something that's constantly happening. But yeah, I think you can safely assume that, they've identified potential replacements for Moyes, even though they may be reticent to act on that right now. Liam Shaw asks, Rio, will being the underdog in future fixtures, now we're in the relegation zone, make it easier for us to go back to playing counter-attacking football?
No. I just think it increases the pressure on tenfold, if not more. The anxiety will creep in, not only on the pitch, but also in the stands. And it's not like the old days at the Boleyn, where people would get together and galvanise the team and get behind the team. The Olympic Stadium, in terms of atmosphere, as we all know, is a completely different animal. And you're not getting that connection between fans and players to help kind of lift and boost. So I think we're going to be under untold pressure. And this is where even the money side come in, because players know that there's a huge financial stake, not just for the club, but themselves. So that all adds up again. I think it makes things 10 times worse, to be honest, at least.
I'm inclined to agree. I think, yeah, I mean, we touched on it, didn't we? No made the point, I think, during the match, that the psychological pressure that being in the bottom three adds to the squad is huge. And I make him right as I make you right. I would much rather not be in it and being able to have a little bit more freedom. But I don't think it affords you any, it's not like a, the importance of each game is magnified once you're in that bottom three. Also the pressure and, the build up to the game, the media, the press, always, that's the question they're asking the manager. You're now, it isn't just a question of we're in a battle, we're going down. If we didn't wouldn't get any more points between now and the end of the season, we're down because we're in the bottom three. So I totally agree. I think it just increases the pressure tenfold Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Liam. Thank you for the question. I think that's about it. DCB 2727 suggests Di Canio as a potential manager. What do you make of that one? Would you like to see Paolo back in the dugout?
You know what? After the last few months we've had, where it's been absolutely desperate to watch, horrible to watch, we're lacking ideas, lacking attacking impetus. You know, just for a couple of months of madness, you know, why not? You know, I'm obviously not completely serious about that. I mean, I've heard worse ideas, but I've heard a million times better.
Yeah, look, Rio, you and I rarely disagree on these things, but if that was your position, I know you're being a little bit mischievous, of course, but I can't think of anything worse. I think it'd be wonderful to see Di Canio walk out there once, but he's not a manager. He's not a manager, and I think it would be dreadful, wouldn't it? Leave him where he is. We've got those memories of him as a wonderful player. Well, Glenn Roeder might disagree if he was still here, but of course, you know. No, 27-27, absolutely not. Yeah. Well, one more question. DCB's got another question. Does Declan Rice want to graft? Does Moyes want to graft? Are they committed to putting in the extra effort?
Judging by what we're watching week in, week out, it doesn't appear that Declan, for me, is living up to the mantle he's taken on this season as club captain.
Yeah,
I know he was captain last year de facto, but you know, we're looking for a leader of men out on the pitch at the moment, and we're not seeing that for the moment from England's premier defensive midfielder, and dare I say it, one of Europe's premier defensive midfielders.
Yeah,
someone who should be leading by example, grabbing players by the scruff of the neck, directing. What we're seeing is a lot of arms being thrown in the air. I know he's mentioned it in the press and social media. He's exasperated, he's frustrated, but the body language doesn't look right. So from Declan's point of view, I'm worried because he's not showing what we really need him to show. From David Moyes' point of view, I dare say he's putting every effort under the sun to galvanise that squad together, protect his own job, make the club a success. What we're seeing is players not responding and not wanting to work for him at the moment.
Yeah.
And everything else we've touched on about like recruitment, we don't seem players who have joined us that seem to fit the ethos that Moyes wants, which leads to the whole other question of why we've recruited them in the first place. I don't doubt that David Moyes is working 24/7 to try and turn things around and make this club a success. But whatever he's doing at the moment just isn't working, and it hasn't been working for a long time now.
No. Well, I'm back to agreeing with everything you've just said. I'm afraid after our brief disagreement a few moments ago about Di Canio. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, Declan's clearly frustrated. He's trying too hard. I think that much is evident. Moyes, you know, I mean, the thing about Moyes is this is likely to be his last major appointment. Once he leaves West Ham, I don't think we're going to see him go into another major role, especially in this country. So for his sake, he's going to want to get that right. I think he's doing all he can. I mean, the thing about Moyes is, you know, it was a criticism not so long ago that he only had a plan A, but we've seen a plan A, B, C, and D, I think, in recent weeks. He's trying everything. It's just not working out. For some reason, it's not happening. And I don't think that's any slight on his ability. This just happens. I think in any workforce, not just the field of football or sport, wherever you work, sometimes people get disinterested or get bored with their current position. They fall out with their disagreements with their work colleagues. You know, the manager takes his eye off the ball, and it's the same in the field of football and sport. I think those things happen. I don't think it's necessarily he's doing anything wrong. It's just not working out, and I guess that comes back to the point that if that is the case, then really it is time for a change. But you know, that's not happening at the moment for sure. Thank you for the question. 27. Hobo, coming back to our point, about the recruitment and for a potential replacement. He says so it would be reasonable to assume that if Moyes gets the sack, the board could act swiftly, assuming someone had indicated they would come. Yes, I think is the answer to that, and I wouldn't mind betting that is the case. They've probably got 2 or 3 options in place at the moment. That's the way it normally works. So yeah, okay. Well, I think Ria, I think we're done. We've done a we've done a fair time after this might actually be our longest stream of the year, and we did a couple of marathon ones before, but we're well over 3 hours. Might even be up to 4 by now. Well, we are just over 3 hours. I think it's probably time to go and get a drink and have a bite to eat. So thank you to everybody who joined us this afternoon. Really appreciate it. Thank you for all your comments, kept us going, and took us through. It was a hugely disappointing afternoon for West Ham United. Oh, we came here today with such hopes, thought we were going to get something out of this game. Wasn't to be. Podence's goal 3 minutes after the restart was enough to condemn West Ham to another defeat, one that sends us spiraling, not really spiraling, kind of tripping or just lazily falling, I suppose, into the bottom 3. But that's where we are, 18th position. David Moyes is going nowhere right now. We've had that confirmed, can tell you that much. Not tonight, anyway. So it looks like he's going to be in charge unless something happens in the next few days for that massive game, next massive game against Everton next week. Rio, did you want to have some final thoughts? Anything you want to share before we wrap up?
No, it's just like these are trying times for West Ham once more. We go for it every 5 to 6 years. Now we always come out of it not necessarily better, but stronger in terms of character. Not on the pitch, off the pitch. Everyone, let's try and stick together as a fan base. Let's just stick together, get behind the club as a whole. Right? It's not working at the moment. I'm not saying back the manager at the moment, but whoever takes over, if they do, back them. If David Moyes stays on, back them. Because as a club, we never need your support as much as we do now. We're battling for Premiership survival. We're still in the FA Cup. We're still in the Europa Conference. Let's enjoy it while we can. Let's get behind the club and let's be proper West Ham fans and back our team as much as we can to try and get us out of this situation.
Here. Very wise words, Rio. Lovely way to end today's stream. Thank you for your company. Also to Gnome for joining us. Had to skip off a little date. Lined up for this evening. Not sure what the mood's going to be like around the dinner table this evening, but anyway, that's West Ham for you. Always spoiling everything. We do always try to end on a positive note on our streams, and I can tell you actually before we do that unusually the club's website has not posted any comments from the manager yet. They normally provide live updates from the press conference. There's nothing on there as it stands from David Moyes yet, which might be an indication of something. I'm purely speculating, but unusual for them not to do that anyway. But maybe the media team are in the pub trying to drown their sorrows at the moment instead of publishing any content. Positive note of the day: West Ham United's under 18s. are through to no, they're not. What am I talking about? They're not through the net. It wasn't a cup game, it was a league game. They still got 100% record in the league this season. Beat Aston Villa today, 5-2 away from home. Goals from Callum Marshall, Gideon Kaduo, of course, recently signed his first professional contract. Put West Ham 2-0 up before the hosts put one back just before half-time. Patrick Kelly, one of our Irish players, put us 3-1 ahead before Kadua got a second to make it 4-1. And then Favour for EuMB scored a fifth for West Ham to put us 5-1 ahead before Villa got one back at the end to make it 5-2. What a season the under-18s are having. Can we get them all over to the Olympic Stadium next week? Who knows? Stranger things have happened to see. Well, no, they haven't actually, but possibly not the worst, are they? Anyway, that's it from us today. Thank you to everyone for joining us throughout the afternoon. Long stream this afternoon, 3.5 hours. I'm a bit throaty. Need a drink. Need to go and consider and go and write some content. Of course, get yourself over to the KUMB.com general discussion forum. Loads of debate going to be going on there throughout the rest of the day for the rest of the week. I shall be back. Rio, you're going to be at the Olympic next weekend, I presume, for the game.
Yeah.
So it might be just me next week. Who knows? Dave Moyes could still be in charge. We don't know. Something might happen between now and then. We just don't know what's going to happen. What an exciting season. You all said you wanted your old West Ham back, didn't you? Well, here it is. Fighting relegation once again with a team that's too good for it. Too good to go down. Where have I heard that one before? We'll find out very soon. Till next week, take care, everybody, and come on, you Irons.